your wife and wish your daughter gets cancer. This has stirred me up, and I reached boiling point when I felt the rejection at the stadium on Sunday. In this situation, I let myself be carried away and reacted in a way that disrespected the group of fans that support our club, our team, and myself with positive energy. It has not been my intention, and I'm sorry if that's what people thought. What my wish is that we get back to a place of mutual respect, remembering why we fell in love with the game in the first place. Let's move forward positively together. What do you make of that, Rich?
I don't know. It's an interesting stance. Ordinarily, you get the stance which would have been straight away the morning after. I'm really sorry. I was seeing red, etc., etc. I mean, I don't know. I'm yet to digest this fully. The last sentence though does make me smile. I'm sorry that you didn't quite understand me. Or for instance, I'm sorry that you're maybe not quite of the intellect or of the awareness to understand how I am. And I'm sorry about that, Patrick. No, exactly. That you're not quite who you should be.
Exactly. Well, I said that to my ex when I cheated on her. I was like, look, I'm sorry that you made me do this.
Yes, that's a great example.
I'm sorry that you created an environment in which I was so unhappy that I had to nip round to number 42.
And if that isn't a heartfelt apology, then
that's it. Then I usually follow it up with something like, and that's all I've got to say about that.
Yes.
And then we leave it. So it's like the politician approach to things, isn't it, really? And I was just walking through Hampstead Heath and I tripped and fell. And before I knew it, I was on top of Jeffrey. And, that's all I've got to say about that. Right, okay.
We're going to have some more questions there about Jeffrey.
That's all I've got to say about that.
Not quite good enough. Want to delve a little bit deeper. Right, what do I make of this? Okay, look, he's getting stick. Look, of course, if the stuff that he's saying has been said, then that's not right. Of course, it's not right. But do you know what you get? And this is the world we're in, though, right? The social media, people hiding behind social media accounts and can say whatever they want. He's not the only one that will have this, and I'm sure they've all had this. Not to this extent, but I got a lot of stick.
Yeah, sorry about that, mate.
I know we've discussed this.
Sorry. I'm sorry if you took it that way.
There you go. See what you've done there.
Yeah.
See what you've done. So no, I don't know. It just seems it's a bit convenient to bring that up now. It's if it has been said, look, of course you can't condone that, and if that's right, then really you should have brought this up beforehand. You don't bring it up. It just seems. I'll tell you what it is. It just seems that you know when you've had that argument, and at that point, rather than maybe saying sorry and taking responsibility for your part in it, it's then very easy. Well, you did this, so therefore I'm not that sorry because actually this and this and this, and I don't know. I just look at this and think, can you recover from this? I'm not sure. Probably not.
No. Look, I personally don't think he will ever Well, the issue with football is, I suppose, is that you are only a couple of really good performances away from everyone loving you again. So maybe it is recoverable in that sense if he goes out and scores a hat-trick and guides Arsenal into third place or something like that. But at the moment, I think he's got a long way to go, that's for sure. Look, we are going to get stuck into the rugby, of course. There's some really interesting detail by James Haskell today about just doing a roundup of all the different individuals and some really interesting stuff in that. One player gets a message from his auntie before each game, just telling him how to deal with the opposition scrum, which, I mean, just renders Eddie Jones completely useless, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You get a load of these ones that are just really interesting. Like, it's amazing how many coffee addicts apparently are in the team. Something I'm sure you can relate to, Rich.
Do love my coffee.
Yep, so we'll get stuck into all of that. But there is one, again, this Derby sacked captain Richard Keogh.
It's just made me more annoyed about this now.
Well, go on. Do you want to fill us in on what's
exactly what I said yesterday. The details that are coming out, and I hate to be in fact, I don't hate to be I told you so. I quite enjoy being that person.
I told her so.
No, because it's exactly what I said. They've offered him, reportedly, he's on what, 24 grand a week? Is that right? They say more than that.
They said he was £29,000
a week. So they've offered him a deal of £3 grand a week. Now, if you're in his position, what do you say? Going back to the incident, you're the one of the three that technically hasn't really done anything wrong.
Wasn't
Other than, what did I say yesterday? The one thing he probably didn't do was put his seatbelt on. All right, is that a sackable offence for not putting your seatbelt on? I mean, I would guess not. So anyway, it turns out, according to reports, that's the reason they sacked him. He didn't have his seatbelt on. The two that left the scene of the crime, that were drink driving, get a 6-week fine. Because they're worth 10 million quid each.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Like, this is a joke.
I mean, there are no winners here, and I think there's a very, very good case.
What, in this room?
Yeah. As Donald Trump would say, you're a two-time loser. But the thing with this is, though, that if they sack the other two, you Mason Bennett and Tom Lawrence, then you kind of like, okay, all right, I get it a bit. Still think it's a bit harsh on Richard Keogh to an extent. But it can't be overlooked that as club captain, you shouldn't ever be in a situation where you're in a car driven by somebody who's over the limit, driving alongside another car driven by somebody who's over a limit after a team bonding night. Like, there is that, mate.
Agreed. So then sack none or sack them all. That's my point. But they won't. The reason they won't sack the other two is, I promise you, they sack them, and within 30 seconds, they've signed for another championship club on the same money because they've got a clean slate somewhere else, and the other club gets them for free and instantly add 10 million quid to their asset sheet. So no, it's just, look, it's ageism. That's what it is.
Well,
he's got no market value whatsoever, Richard Keogh, and he's injured for however long, probably career over. They've just saved themselves 2.5 million. So what they'll do is they'll go and fight it in court. They'll probably end up settling somewhere in the middle, I'm sure. But still, Derby will save a lot of money, and they'll have grounds to an extent, I'm sure, to make sure that they don't have to pay in the full 2.5. It'll probably end up being, 10p in the pound or something like that.
But players do have things in their contracts, don't they? Like, you're not allowed to go skiing.
You're not allowed to go skiing.
So I imagine that there will be a bit in there about wearing a seatbelt.
It will, but then it comes back to that. Then the point being, again, if he was on his own, then I get this. If he was on his own and this happened and he gets sacked, I don't say anything because actually, you're right. There is grounds for it to be a sackable offence. My point is that there were two other people who were 10 times worse than what he's done.
Is the point from the football club that those two people are still able to play? This guy, because of his actions, has now meant that he can't play.
I mean, that is a point. I don't agree with it.
No, I don't.
Because I'll tell you the other part of it is as well, and look, we talk a lot about mental health, and we talk about footballers when they retire and the human aspect to this. Ultimately, what's happened, he's gone on a club-sanctioned night out and got drunk, like all the others. He's then got in a car. Right, admittedly, in that state of mind, should he have got in the car with someone who's been drinking? No, he shouldn't, okay? But he is himself quite drunk. So he's not actually technically done anything wrong. Got in a car, didn't put his seatbelt on. That's what he's done wrong, again, in that state of mind. Now, how many times have you jumped in an Uber and not put your seatbelt on?
Never.
Right, well, you always put it on?
I always put my seatbelt on.
Do you really, when you get in a taxi?
Always, because I don't want to do a die.
Fair enough. Well, look, I
know what you mean, though.
I can imagine there are people out here that when they get in a taxi, they haven't put a seatbelt on.
Absolutely.
So, look, I just don't think he's done enough wrong. And then I go back to the human aspect, which is, all right, what's this going to do for him as an individual? They did commit to that. He's given years to Derby, 7 years worth of service, given incredible service to them, and now they're throwing him out on his ear. No money. All of a sudden, your contract's gone. I'm sure he's got bills to pay. Look, whether he's set up for life or not, probably not. Although he's on a fantastic contract, probably not. So suddenly, what do you do? And I can imagine he's devastated by this.
Yeah, well, look, quite possibly. Can we move on to the rugby?
We can. Just very quickly, I'll just throw up on the screen an incredible fight in the NBA where one of the players actually had the others in a chokehold.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know what? This will come up again in the next hour, and I want you to do your
we could
reporting on
it for our YouTube
We
viewers.
could in here. I would love to do that, as long as I'm the one doing the choking. The other guy, so it was... who was it? It was basically the other guys tapped out. Ben Simmons and Carl Anthony.
Out.
He had to tap out because he was getting choked, so he tapped out.
In NBA?
Like a wrestling match. It's hilarious. He actually tapped out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he looks in real... Wow, I'm going to have to watch this again in more detail. Sorry, yeah, let's talk let's talk that.
So, before we go into a bit of detail about each individual member of this team, courtesy of James Haskell, who has a good insight to it all, there was a fantastic press conference yesterday with Joe Marler and Cole, and they were both based in Dan Cole. They were both being really weird in this presser. Joe Marler, you can tell, is just a nutter. But that's exactly what I want from someone who's going to pull on an England shirt and essentially go to war with another country.
Concerned he might be mental.
Yeah, there is a slight look in, not a slight. There's a look in his eye that says, "Wow, you're nuts."
Yeah,
You're nuts.
No, he doesn't try and hide it with the appearance he's got, does he?
No.
At all.
It's very much like I think I said yesterday. It looks like an extra out of Braveheart.
Yeah. There was a very strange moment towards the end of the interview, those that haven't seen it. So he doesn't say anything.
No. He's refusing to speak.
But he then kind of gives a few winks to the crowd. He's kind of covering his face with his hands. Then all of a sudden reaches out for a cuddle.
Yeah, but it was a really strange cuddle. I would urge anyone just to go on Twitter and have a look at this. So Dan Cole is desperately trying to do his bit of, well, look, Joe's the type of guy that can get people energised. You're an energiser, Joe, and it's just great. We've got such a good mixture of age and youth in this team, and it's just a pleasure to be a part of it. And then Joe Marler's just next to him, just winking at the crowd, looking round, shaking his head in disapproval, and then just sticks one arm out for a hug, and Dan Cole kind of links arms with him, and then very slowly Joe Marler's other arm comes out, and then they look at each other, and I was like, are they going to kiss?
It's going to happen.
Is this it's going to... Oh, my God, it's going to happen! It's going to happen! And then they just kind of gave a bit of an awkward hug, and then they got up and left, and everyone's just sat there like, wow.
Bemused.
Well, that's is Eddie Jones rocking up at any point, or is this what we've got for today, is it?
Slightly bemused.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the logistics of it, it's not particularly easy to cuddle when you're both sat next to each other as well.
Or when you're that massive.
That as well.
Because they were cuddling, but they're still basically both in different time zones.
The lack of flexibility was palpable.
It was,
Yeah.
honestly. You could hear his arm goes like... Okay, there we go.
There we go. We are connected.
Yeah. But look, I know we've got business to do shortly, but yeah, I'm just gonna. Have I got time, producer Kieran, to whiz us through some stuff? No, I've not.
Wow. There you go. An early rejection.
Well.
Early
That'll set me up
rejection.
for the weekend.
That sets the tone for the show. It's 6:45.
This is Love Sport.
Hi, I'm Marilyn from Oxfordshire. My current insurance company quoted £245 and 8 pence to reinsure. And a spokesman said, obtain me a price of £173.49 for the same cover. This was a fantastic saving for me. And next time my car insurance comes up for renewal, I will be going through what a spokesman said. No doubt about that.
With a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Brilliant, I've finally quit.
I can keep up with my kids now.
I feel like I've got my life back.
It's an amazing feeling when you stop smoking. Experience it for yourself with help from Smoke Free. Our range of free support can help you quit for good. From our app to emails, face-to-face and online communities. Search Smoke Free, because there's only one you.
Oh, it's okay. Let's face it, when your kids are ill, you'd do anything to help them feel better. But remember, antibiotics aren't always needed. You might not realise it, but taking antibiotics when you don't need them puts you and your family at risk of a longer and more severe illness. Help keep your family well. Always take your doctor's advice on antibiotics. Search NHS antibiotics. All better.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident, and save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel, and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, and Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. It's Friday. You know what that means. This is going to be our best performance of the week.
It is. We've got a really weird dynamic on this show where I think most people, kind of
fade.
Tail off. Yeah, fade at the end of the week. Whereas I always have my best night's sleep on a Thursday.
Yeah.
We're pumped.
And this is it. And this tune kicks in, and this is where I feel today is going to be the best performance. Let's do it. It's business. It's Chris Bailey's time. Oh, it's fabulous. Yeah, Chris Bailey.
We've got to listen to that sort of outro, whatever it's called, at some point in full. I mean, the guy just seems, I don't know what he just seems either excited or in pain. I can't quite figure it out.
Pretty sure it's pain. Pretty sure it's pain. Yeah, it's. I feel like we do cut it a little bit short. That bit at the end really gets you started for the day. If I'm honest, Chris, how are we?
Yeah, I'm very good. I'm very good. I'm not quite as see. For me, I kind of I sort of peak kind of, I don't know, sort of Wednesday, Thursday, I think, and then Friday I'm sort of hanging on a bit, to be honest. But there you go. I'm afraid if you're foot to the floor all week, I mean, at some point it's got to catch up with you, and that's the sad reality, I'm afraid.
That's it. That's exactly why I went into rehab.
That's it. What goes up must come down. I can tell it's Friday as well because our producer, rather than writing long explanations about what's going on in the business world, he's just given one words.
Oh, lovely.
So, here you go. Whirlpool. Discuss.
Whirlpool, absolutely. Well, I mean, obviously, you're thinking I'm going to be talking about something oceanic or whatever, but I'm not. I'm talking about washing machines and tumble dryers. And obviously, you may have read in the press that Whirlpool's been correctly, absolutely harangued for its actually ultra highly dangerous washing machines, dryers, and related. Number of which, I think, particularly the dryers, have caught fire. They've done a big recall, well over 100,000 machines, quite rightly so. However, they've also been asking some people to sign non-disclosure agreements, which is, the sort of thing you hear in kind of a tabloid, some, millionaire footballer doing because of some dalliance or something, not on something to do with dryers or washing machines or whatever. So, bit naughty there by Whirlpool. Surely they should just pucker up a replacement with huge apologies and possibly a touch of compensation.
Indeed. And Mike Ashley.
Where do we start with Mr. Ashley? I mean, there are so many stories going on. Obviously, we can't obviously do the politics. I mean, a certain political leader did sound him out yesterday. Mr. Ashley, I think, correctly did come back at him, which is his right and due prerogative. But he's also been criticised by having, in some recent accounts that have been published, the cost of £2 million for a private plane, which flies him and various other senior executives of Sports Direct around and about doing important business, including, of course, going to the Newcastle matches, which, obviously is an important part of their empire and everything else. But you'd want to guess what the plane's called? Any ideas?
No, go on.
No. It's actually called Flannels, which actually is a reference to his high-end brand, which he owns. He's got this big flannel thing, isn't he? This is why he bought House of Fraser, to kind of turn it into a flannels kind of thing. We've had the debate before about a flannel being some kind of sort of thing you put on your face, not kind of wear on your lower half of your body. But there you go. Mr. Ashley is convinced that's what you call your private jet, rather than sportsdirect.com, which I think would be a bit of advertising, to be honest.
There you go. Rugby World Cup.
Well, exciting times, obviously. Who knows? Big day tomorrow. Obviously, big match today, actually, as well. Particularly if you're Welsh, trying to go for the third place. But obviously, a huge match tomorrow. The pubs, in theory, should be loving it in terms of all this extra sporting action. Clearly, soccer World Cups have been huge boons for them. Obviously, this time in Japan, matches kicking off at sort of 9 o'clock in the morning, or perhaps a bit earlier. It's a bit more difficult, but the pubs are cracking on, offering apparently a whole range of breakfasts. Everything, including alcoholic drinks, but also coffee and avocado toast, if that's more your thing, Patrick.
Absolutely. Yes, smashed avocado on some rye bread to really kickstart the day, and then 15 pints of Guinness.
There you go. Do you really see him as that type of guy, Chris? Given that you've got to know him quite a bit over the last few months.
I thought more the former, to be honest, in terms of, after we had that Ritz disclosure earlier this week, my theories, my feelings have kind of evolved completely. So, I am seeing the smashed avocado, to be honest, and then 15 pints of water, to be honest.
How badly you've misjudged him. Chris, have a fantastic weekend.
So do you.
Chris Bailey, there, founder of financialorbit.com. I see we've had some messages in. As always, thank you very much for all your messages. You can get in touch, 0208 70 20 558 at Love Sport Radio on the socials, or of course we're on YouTube. We've had one here about Richard Keogh. The Derby captain is 33, out for 14 months approximately. So if he should return, there is no transfer value left in him. Yeah. The other two are younger and are worth much more to Derby. Sad, but true.
Yep.
Does that make it right? That was Clive, by the way. Thank you very much, Clive. Does that make it true? I mean, that's the point, isn't it? And that is my whole point. I mean, look, by the way, I get in isolation that he could be sacked and maybe should be sacked in isolation. I just think it can't. The counter-argument, I think, for Richard Keogh will be that there's 3 incidences here and they have to all be involved in the same case.
I think the biggest counter-argument for me is that they are going to allow Wayne Rooney to come in as a player coach. Now, I know I dig Wayne Rooney out quite a lot, but I do like the guy, as a footballer, and especially as a United fan. He gave us some great memories. But the guy's a full-time liability who clearly cannot stop drinking, cannot stop going out and doing various things with or without his wife, has got a conviction for drink driving. And there's all of that, isn't there, with Wayne? And the idea that you would sack a player for not wearing a seatbelt, but you would allow, kind of a human potato to come in and really upset the apple cart is nuts. And that for me would be the biggest defence. If I was Richard Keogh, I'd be saying, well, hang on a minute. I can understand to an extent that these two lads have got a decent resale value, but look at this walking catastrophe that you've just allowed in.
See, I think this is where I think you have the clean slate. I think the two, let's say they sacked all three. I mentioned two get signed instantly because it's a clean slate elsewhere.
But then I'm not being funny. But then okay, so Wayne Rooney gets pictured leaving Derby's training ground without wearing his seatbelt. Do they sack him?
Probably not. No,
probably not. So then Richard Keogh surely is...
This one, I mean, look, there's so many different parts to this. I mean, I'm sure we're going to get into more detail about this because this will rumble on. I think this will rumble on until it comes to a conclusion, at which point I think Richard Keogh retires from football. And he has appealed. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what the result of his appeal will be.
I wonder if he starts throwing some of his teammates under the bus here, Because the thing is, if there'll be loads of things that go on in any football club, on any night out or anything, that if they got into the public domain would be deemed catastrophic. And if it is a case here now where he's thinking, well, my career's over, and the club have shafted me, 360 odd games, they wanted to put me on a contract that's worth about 10% less, I think, less than 10% of what I was on before. My teammates are getting away with it scot-free. I think you're just going to start throwing them under the bus.
It's like the dossier I have on you, just in case. Hopefully it's never needed.
Spell dossier.
I'm not going to try. Shearer and Owen are going to team up, which is pretty awkward.
Yeah, go on. So
they're going to team up for Amazon Prime's Premier League coverage, which, of course, it was only recently that our friend Mr. Michael Owen did write his book and wasn't particularly complimentary about Alan. And now they're going to be the dream team.
Alan! Alan! I'm sorry, Alan.
They're going to be the dream team now that hosts Amazon Prime, which kind of makes you wonder whether we spoke at the time whether it was all a bit of a let's create something to sell books.
I'm not being funny. Does the phrase "money for old rope" come into mind here? Is this dynamic double act of Michael Owen and Alan Shearer talking you through the football? I mean, honestly, I think I'd rather just have like a gerbil and a ferret.
Okay, you chose two really random animals
Yeah.
there.
Well, let's introduce the football mongoose. He's going to give us his words of wisdom. What do you think, mongoose? Right, excellent. That's exactly the same thing that you get out of Michael Owen. Well, he's got the ball there, hasn't he? And as you can see, he's just put it in the goal. Right, thank you, Michael.
I mean, at least with the ferret, I guess they are so entertaining. They're so funny, so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are. Smell like urine, though.
Do they?
That's the thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like Kieran's got something to add to this point. I'm guessing it might be slightly not related.
Well, not quite on that same sort of plane of existence at the moment. But I thought I'd run through some of Alan Shearer's best quotes that we might be hearing on Amazon Prime.
Okay, get us excited.
Oh, go on.
Tease us.
Football's not just about scoring goals; it's about winning.
Yep.
There we go. That's one. I mean, it's
spot
on. It's accurate.
This is what I'm talking about.
Is it incorrect? Go on,
don't
next.
get this from a mongoose.
One accusation you can't throw at me is that I've always done my best. Yeah, he's got that a bit wrong, isn't he?
Okay, yeah, just figuring it out.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Go on,
He's got his tenses wrong there.
That's okay.
At times, they don't like you to kick them, and they feel you're not allowed to kick them. What does that even mean?
Okay, yeah, that's a riddle. But that's what Alan Shearer does.
Alan
He gives you a riddle.
There on Trick or Treaters.
Do we have any more? No, is that it for now? Okay. I mean, look, he gets you. He's a thinker. He gets you thinking. I'm thinking about it.
He's not like a Geordie Confucius, is he? He's
Well,
exactly what you'd expect.
Maybe there's more to Alan. Maybe there's more. Lots to come. 3 minutes to 7.
This is Love Sport.
Hello, my name's Paula. I'm from the Shropshire area and I'm a business development manager. I use a spokesman said for my car insurance where I've saved over £500 and also on travel insurance as well. So in total, me and my family have saved about £600. I would definitely use it again and I would definitely recommend it.
With a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee. and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus to stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app, because there's only one you.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
Love Sport Breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10. Those coffees are taking a little while, Patrick. Did you actually order them?
I did order them, but the lady who makes them listens from her cafe, so hurry up!
There we go. Great stuff.
Hurry up.
Great stuff. Hopefully they'll be here any minute. I think you've made your point loud and clear. We've got a big hour coming up. We've got Kevin Campbell coming on.
Ooh.
Yeah, big guest. Good work, producer Kieran. We've also got Peter Rutzler, Bournemouth correspondent for The Athletic as well, talking Eddie Howe, Callum Wilson, and other Bournemouth-related stuff too. As always, you can get in touch, 0208 70 20 558 on WhatsApp.
We've got Rugby World Cup, we've got drink-driving footballers, we've got the works.
There you go.
Granit Xhaka's apology that never was an apology.
Stay tuned.
On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 7, the Labour leader says Donald Trump is trying to interfere in the UK's general election. The US president revealed in an interview that he thinks Jeremy Corbyn would be so bad for Britain. Mr. Trump said he has a great friendship with Boris Johnson, adding that they have a lot of the same things going. Our political editor Beth Rigby says it's an incredible intervention from the White House.
It's unbelievable that a US president would make such a pointed intervention into another country's election. There's an unspoken rule that you don't do that.
Meanwhile, former Tory MP Antoinette Sandbach has become the 8th ex-Conservative to join the Liberal Democrats. She's going to stand in her current constituency in Cheshire. The Brexit Party will launch its campaign this morning. A report is warning young people with autism are having their human rights breached by horrific conditions in some mental health units. The government says it wants to reduce the number of people being held in such facilities. A man's been arrested after a fatal road accident in southeast London involving a car and 2 single-decker buses. One person died in Orpington last night. The driver of the car was arrested. Whirlpool's been criticised for its slow response to fixing tumble dryers, which are a potential fire risk. A business committee report says it's extraordinary that as many as 800,000 could be in people's homes 4 years after safety concerns were raised. In sport, the Duke of Sussex has sent a good luck message to the England rugby team ahead of the World Cup final. Prince Harry, who's in Japan for the event, included a photo of son Archie in a red rose jersey. Eddie Jones's side clash with South Africa in Yokohama tomorrow, where they are favourites to win. These young England fans in Japan are looking forward to it.
It's going to be great. We're going to be at the final and cheering on England. We've been waiting for ages, so it's great. I reckon we can definitely win it, and we've got a great team.
Wales face New Zealand in the third place playoff later this morning. That's the latest. I'm Kit Bradshaw.
Love Sport.
Hi, Susan. What's a Brew City Brew Bite?
It's Beer Munch.
Oh, all right, but what exactly is it?
It's Beer Munch.
Okay. But what about a Brew City Halloumi Fry?
It's Beer Munch.
And an onion straw?
It's Beer Munch.
Yeah, it's Beer Munch. Yeah, so you keep saying. Hot, shareable snacks that are delicious with a cold beer and friends. You'll find them in the freezer aisle. Brew City.
It's Beer Munch.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Morning, Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Lots going on in the world this morning. Let's touch on some of those headlines. Rugby World Cup final just 26 hours away. Granit Xhaka finally releases a statement via the Arsenal Twitter account. We've got more details on Richard Keogh's sacking and James Vince and Davy Bowler's start as England comfortably beat New Zealand in Chris Silverwood's first game in charge. Wales captain Alan Wynne-Jones prepares for the last ever World Cup game against the All Blacks. And Alan Shearer and Michael Owen are going to team up for Amazon Prime's Premier League coverage. Fantastic. We're here with you until 10. Me, Richard Lee, and award-winning Patrick Christys. Should we just do that from now on?
I don't think anyone wants that. I don't think anyone wants
No, I
it.
don't. But
No, I certainly don't.
no.
Actually, wait. No.
Yes, you do. Okay, so what's going on?
Okay, all right, interesting. So, not long now. What is it? 26 hours, something like that, until England play New Zealand. I keep doing that. Play South Africa.
No,
in the Rugby World
We've beat
Cup
them already.
final. We've beaten the Kiwis already. So not long at all until that all gets underway. And there's just a really interesting kind of like personal story by James Haskell in the Mail today, just about each of the individuals essentially in the squad, and it is quite fascinating stuff. So like you've got Mako Vunipola, he's 28, he's got 57 caps. They call him Snorlax because he spends every single time between training sessions fast asleep. You've got Jamie George, he's the hooker. He says that he might have a bit of a cherub face, but actually he's hard as nails, and actually he's almost better at cricket than he is at rugby, which is pretty worrying for anyone who's in the cricket setup, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Kyle Sinclair, we know yesterday we were saying about how basically he's not a mummy's boy, but every single thing that he does is for his mother. I think that's quite nice, isn't it? He was born into a single-parent family in a council estate in London. I'm just going to go through some of the slightly more interesting ones. Courtney Laws, they call him Spider, because he's all arms and legs. He's 6'9", and apparently, when Haskell shared rooms with him, he used to get given a special green card for room service, which meant that it was all for free. And he used to order a club sandwich, a Horlicks, and a Crunchy Nut cornflakes about 15 times a day. So it takes a lot to fuel somebody like that. You got Sam Underhill, who has been described as a fantastic guitarist and singer, a bit of a James Blunt.
Really?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
You're a bit of a James Blunt sometimes, mate.
In what way?
You just are sometimes.
Well, that look.
Look at you and go, a bit of James Blunt.
Right, I'm with you now.
Right, Billy
That's not
Vunipola.
very nice, actually, at all.
Billy Vunipola. Big Bill is the heartbeat of the team. He says that he's got legs like tree trunks, and it doesn't matter how you try and tackle him, it simply isn't going to happen. George Ford, it's just a calming influence. He says that he's a very, very keen golfer, as well as something you can relate to there, Rich.
Like my golf.
And apparently Johnny May is always the butt of practical jokes because he's so organised. So apparently he straps in like a heart rate monitor to himself the whole time, times his stretching routine to like within a fraction of a second, does something that apparently cools his blood. Game ready ice machine.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Oh, I've got one. Yeah.
Have you actually?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, he uses that all the time. But apparently, basically, everyone just nicks his stuff.
Right.
Because they just think, oh, you're really organised.
See, he's my favourite already. Who's that, Johnny May?
Johnny May.
He's my favourite already. Someone who takes his craft seriously, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. You got Manu Tuilagi, who's known as the Chief. Apparently, he is their chief barista, so he's the one who always makes the coffee in this team. He's a qualified carpenter.
Wow.
And he loves chess and snooker. We've got a good bunch of lads here.
Nice mix.
Yeah.
Really nice mix. So let's hear from Eddie Jones, who has been slightly underwhelming by Eddie Jones standards.
We know South Africa's going to come hard. Yeah, they've got a history of being the most physically intimidating team in the world, so we've got to take that away from them. And the boys know what's ahead of them. Everyone knows what's at stake. But because we've had such a good preparation, we can go out there and play without any fear. Oh, we can definitely play better. There's no doubt about it. And the players know that. Yeah, I've been so impressed by the preparation of the players throughout the tournament, and particularly this week. There's a steeliness about them, but also a nice, relaxed feeling because they know they've done the work, so they can get on with the job.
Is that a little bit game of two halves? Kind of felt a bit cliche.
Yeah, I mean,
I think. Do you know what? I think with Eddie Jones, because you expect him to throw a grenade in at some point, he hasn't really done it this week. Great little quote when he was his little comeback to Warren Gatland. I enjoyed that earlier in the week. Enjoy the third and fourth playoffs. So that was nice. But since then, I know there was a lot in the papers this morning about the pain that he suffered, of course, in 2003, losing that final to England, of course, and then after that, it went really downhill. Obviously, lost 7 games in a row with Australia. Ended up getting sacked with Australia. Then it was I think there was another tournament they finished rock bottom, included a 92-3 defeat or something like that. But basically, he just had this spiral then for a period of time, and now obviously he's very much on his way back up. Well, in fact, he's at his peak once again, and I guess this would be the ultimate redemption if he wins tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. He's in the Super 14s with the Queensland Reds, and he resigned after a 92-3 loss by the Bulls in Cape Town. And look, it's like anyone's career. There are massive ups and downs, aren't they? More downs than ups in some people's cases. But yeah, enough about me. He's obviously a winner, but I think in terms of the mind games element of it, I think that it loses all of its purpose if you're doing mind games for mind games' sake.
True.
So if anyone can just see straight through it of, well, here's Eddie Jones now, he's about to say something at some point a bit provocative, it loses all oomph.
True.
When you actually just go and stick him with something right in the ribs.
Yeah, true. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear some more?
Either that or he's put itching powder in all of the South African team's underwear in their changing rooms.
Either that or there's going to be some big things that go down tonight in the hotel.
So he said Clive Woodward was saying that when he was in Australia for this 2003 final, the Australian Fire Brigade went around their hotel with their sirens on at about 4 in the morning. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I quite like that.
No, that's
I
not
like that
okay.
kind of stuff.
I value my sleep. If I'm woken up the night before a game, I am not happy.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point.
That's the point, which is cheating.
It's not cheating. It's gamesmanship.
Cheating.
Okay, I like it. I set fire alarms off. I'd call the fire brigade. I'd call in a bomb threat. I'd let fireworks off in the bathroom. Oh, hello, Mario Balotelli. I'd do all this kind of stuff.
This is why we associate ourselves with different players. This is why Johnny May to me is a bit of a hero.
Joe Marler.
That's what I mean. We're different ends of the spectrum. He's mental.
Yeah.
Actually, literally mental. Look at him. I'm concerned about him.
I know. It's brilliant, isn't it?
And he's your favourite.
Yeah, he's my favourite one.
Do you want to hear some Michael Owen quotes?
Oh, I'd love to hear some Michael. So this is because Michael Owen, who got somebody else to write his book, right?
Yeah.
Dug out Alan Shearer a few times.
Mm-hmm.
What do you call him? A baldy?
I don't know if that was the exact quote.
Was it slapper?
No, I'm pretty sure you've just made them up.
Like an egg with legs?
I'm pretty sure they were nothing to do with the quotes.
Okay, well, something like that. Anyway, we'll find them. But yeah, they're now going to be sharing.
They're going to team up.
Commentary duty.
They are. Amazon Prime. They're going to be the dream team that presents Amazon Prime. We've had some really interesting Alan Shearer ones, thanks to producer Kieran. Got a couple here from Michael Owen, because again, it gives a real feel of what
we can expect.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's 20. I won't do all of them, but we'll run through a few. It's a good run, but it's a poor run, if you know what I mean.
Yep, good stuff, Michael.
Okay.
If a tree falls in the woods and there's no one around to hear it, does it make a sound?
Oh, classic Michael. What a shot. That's completely unstoppable. But the goalkeeper's got to do better for me. That's another classic. He's elbowed him in the head, but there's nothing in it for me. I mean, they continue in the same vein. I can go on. Should I?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. That would have been a goal had it gone inside the post.
Oh, come on. Oh, you are a joke. That's got to be a joke.
I mean, again, I'm reading these quotes and, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's a joke.
Because this is what I don't understand. Amazon Prime are pumping so much money into all the sports stuff. They've got all the tennis, they're doing all that, and it is probably going to be the future. And if it's not Amazon Prime, it'll be someone like Netflix Sport or something like that where they'll just end up dominating. Why do they then go, right then, who should we get doing it? Right, the team tried and tested double act that is Michael Owen and Alan Shearer. Why? Why not go for something fresher, more exciting, younger? You know, this does not make me want to pay for it. This, in fact, would put me off it. If now I know that it's going to be Alan Shearer and Michael Owen, there is no way on earth I'm paying to watch that punditry.
There's a few more. It's hit the facial part of his head there. I quite enjoyed that one. What a feeling it is to be a manager and bring someone on. There's a bit of rain about. It makes the surface wet. I'm starting to quote. These can't be real quotes. They can't be. I mean, it's that. This is incredible.
It's just horrendous, isn't it?
Yeah.
But this is what we're getting now, and this is it. I don't know when Gary Neville and when Jamie Carragher stepped up and they started the other week on Sky Sports. There was Jamie Carragher wearing a VAR headset, placed in the middle of a pitch, running you through exactly what was happening. This is the positioning that was here. This is the way this defender won the ball. I'd pay for that. I would pay to watch that. This, it's a game of 2 hours, and if we score more goals than them, we might win. Do one, mate.
Indeed. The last two for you, okay? To stay in the game, you have to stay in the game.
You know what?
The last one. Do they deserve to win? No. Liverpool do, which is why a draw is a fair result. Okay, let's go to producer Kieran. I think he's got some Eddie Jones info for us. We'll move on because...
Bitten through my own fist.
Yeah,
I feel like we're depressing Patrick
I know.
far too much.
It's just shocking, no, because this is it. Why do these people keep getting work?
Because they are like ultra famous footballers. Like Michael Owen and Alan Shearer are two of the best footballers in recent history, so they get a job. Like that's how it works.
I don't know, man. It's ridiculous.
Last one, Liverpool 4-0 up after 50 minutes. I doubt Everton are going to get anything from this game. Anyway,
well, he's right.
I mean, he's right. A lot of what he says is factually true.
Oh, mate.
It's just not very insightful.
No.
But Eddie Jones has sort of seen an opportunity for his players this week to pave the way for future generations. So it's a bit more inspiring from
good.
Eddie. So he says, it changes how the country feels about itself for a period of time. It might change at the next general election, but for a period of time, it changes how people feel about themselves, and that's the greatest joy. You've got this opportunity to change people's lives through the ability to play rugby, and it's a gift, isn't it? I think that's quite true. It's quite apt, and it shows how sport can unite a nation and get everyone rallying in the same direction for a change.
I do love some of the positive messages we've received after. We had some on our show yesterday. Mr. Vickery, fantastic quote.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just so positive.
Oh, it was. No, I like absolutely everything about Eddie Jones. I just can't get enough of the guy. Like, just the way that he handles himself, the way that he rallies the troops, the way that the organisation and the relentlessness of it. And there was an interesting piece yesterday I saw in the Mail about how they've got 32 members of staff guiding this England team to glory. Everyone from the organisers in terms of bookings of hotels and transport right the way through to who the chefs are, who the psychologists are, so we can get stuck into that, because some of them will be quite familiar to some people, actually.
Indeed. 7:15.
Love Sport. Follow @Love Sport Radio on Twitter for all the latest news, views, competitions and the best bits from your favourite station. Love Sport, the station giving fans a voice.
Full of skill, full of flair, full of desire. Fulham FC is full of fire.
Oh, what a goal!
Be there at Craven Cottage as Fulham continue their surge towards the top of the Sky Bet Championship. Watch the unmissable action live in SW6, home of London's original football club.
Absolutely brilliant.
Grab your tickets now at fulhamfc.com.
As a busy mum, you're juggling loads of things. And when your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics to help them get better. For things like sore throats, coughs and colds, you can get advice from your local pharmacy. And you don't need an appointment. To find your nearest pharmacy, search NHS Choices.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle, or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
This is Love Sport.
Lost Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Delighted to say we've got a very special guest on the line to go through the weekend's action. Kevin Campbell, former Arsenal and Everton striker. Morning, Kevin.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Very well. Hope you're well too. Well, look, lots to talk about. I want to talk about Arsenal first and foremost, if that's all right with you. And obviously a lot of stories on the back pages today. I don't know if you've seen, but Granit Xhaka has come out with his response to what happened the other night. What do you make of this whole situation with Granit Xhaka?
I make of it. There's two elements to this. There's the social media element, which he's been getting a lot of abuse and vile, crazy talk about affecting him, his wife, and his children. That is way beyond the bounds of decency, and nobody could condone that, and I don't condone that. And then there's the issue with the actual fans in the stadium, which cannot be. You can try and put them together, but you can't, because when he's at his place of work and the fans react to something, then as captain he's got to be able to take it. And I think, trying to mash it all together, I don't think is the right thing to do. So it's very difficult for Granit Xhaka to use that reaction and that so-called apology, which I don't even think is an apology. It's just he's trying to make fans understand how he feels. But how about how the fans feel? So this could rumble on, this one.
Do you know what? It's funny you say you're spot on, and that was we spoke about it earlier in the show, and that's what to me it just feels a bit like you're bringing that in to make a counter argument, but the point is they're two separate things to an extent. Right. So you are spot on. The other question is like whether it feels to me like this has come from Granit Xhaka. I know there's a couple of people that say that this might be a club issued apology, but it's not. This does feel like it has come from Granit Xhaka. But on the back of this, can he then put an Arsenal shirt on again? How do the fans react to him when he does?
Well, I was at the game on Sunday, and I just thought to myself, as soon as it happened, I thought to myself, he's done at the club. He's really done at the club, because, to have that bestowed on you as a captain of Arsenal Football Club, no matter what the fans do in the stands, no matter what, you have to be able to have that thick skin, and you have to be able to lead by example. What did he do? He bailed on the team and went down the tunnel and left the ground and all this kind of thing. That is not the behaviour of an Arsenal captain. No. So I know there's a lot of flack going around. There's a lot of people saying, Unai Emery, put him under the bus, etc. But he didn't have to take the captaincy. No. He took the captaincy in good faith. So he should lead by example, but he's not. And I think this is going to be a very difficult time for Granit Xhaka. If you think there was a lot of flack going on before, there's going to be a hell of a lot of flack going on now, because the game was Sunday and the apologies only just come out. Yeah.
Well, if
he felt that way, he should have come out and the apology should have been, or the understanding should have come out the next day.
No, this is exactly it. Well, I want to throw this back to you, because have you ever had a situation similar where you've had a tough time at a club or you've been getting abuse, and how did you deal with it?
Yeah. Easy. Roll your sleeves up and get stuck in. That's where everything, what you do on the pitch says everything about you. Now, playing football is a privilege. To be able to play in front of these fans and stadiums, and I was an Arsenal fan growing up, so to be able to play, but flack flies about. When the adulation's there, we're quick to take the adulation, no problem. But when there's tough times, you have to be able to tough it out, roll your sleeves up, and produce on the pitch. Because the fans don't want to be having a go at you. But if you're not playing up to your ability or your quality or whatever, it's their right to let you know. When it happened to me, it was a matter of roll your sleeves up and get stuck in, keep grinding, and then it will turn around, and that's what happens.
Do you reckon other clubs now, though, are going to be quite reluctant to sign him? Because this, to me, demonstrates somebody who is quite an emotional bloke, who maybe is a bit hot-headed, and can you trust him? Let's say you're in the final of a big tournament or a big competition, and someone gives him a kick. Does he lash out? Is he not? Does this not point at maybe some kind of element of his character that is a bit hot-headed?
Well, I don't know if it's the hot-headedness, but because maybe there was something that snapped in him, But will this other teams off? I don't think it'll put teams off. But I don't think Granit Xhaka's captain material at Arsenal. I think he's great in the dressing room. From what I've been told, he's a good lad. But to be captain of Arsenal Football Club, you have to have super thick skin. To play for Arsenal, you have to have super thick skin. And obviously, he doesn't possess that, because if he did, he wouldn't react the way he did.
Well, someone else who's got a bit of stick on the back of this is the manager and his handling of this. Keen to get your thoughts on him. I know there's a few grumbles at the moment as to whether he's the man to take Arsenal forward. What's your thoughts?
There's not grumbles. It's thunder at the moment. There's a lot of Arsenal fans who look, when a new manager comes in, he's had a year's grace to try and get the club moving forward. I think what the fans want to see, me included, is the club progress to a better standard. But it seems like we're regressing and we're not playing at a better standard. In fact, I would say he's on really thin ice, especially with the supporters, because what they're seeing isn't what it said on the tin that he would be producing, a team that's going to be on the front foot, pressing team. I don't see any of that.
Look, rumours, as always, whenever there's a big job going in football, that Jose Mourinho might be about to take charge. Do you think that practically that might be a good move?
Well, 100% not, in my opinion. Obviously, there's a lot of history between Jose Mourinho, Arsene Wenger, and Arsenal, and he said some very, very derogatory things about Arsenal and Arsene Wenger. And I know there's a lot of fans. I know some fans would take Jose Mourinho. He's a proven manager. But I just think there's a lot of fans, myself included, who would never forgive it, would never forgive the way he spoke about our great club. So, if they signed him, there's nothing I could do about it. But he wouldn't be my choice at all.
Looking on a positive and an area of expertise for you, Martinelli, he looks fantastic.
Really good signing, young, sharp, hungry player. I think he's pushing for a start at some point in the Premier League, or even to get more minutes in the Premier League if possible. Somebody with that knack of goal scoring and with that speed as well. Obviously, Arsenal have a front three right now, but he can play multiple positions. And what a great opportunity to get somebody who could affect a game coming from the bench, possibly.
And does Ozil start for you on Saturday?
I don't think Mesut Ozil's going to start under Unai Emery anymore in the Premier League, because I think he left out enough players in order that will tell you that he's got his guys who's going to start in the league. Will he be on the bench? Possibly, he might be on the bench, but I think that's as best he's going to get right now, because I think the writing's on the wall for Mesut Ozil. They want to try and get him out of the club.
Yeah, and lastly, just want to touch on another one of your former clubs, Everton, and I look at their fixtures coming up, and I'll run through them very quickly. So Tottenham at home, Southampton away, Norwich home, Leicester away, Liverpool away, Chelsea at home. They're struggling as it is, and that's not an easy run of fixtures. You don't see too many points in there. How much pressure is he under, Marco Silva?
Marco Silva's under a lot of pressure, obviously, to get results. But I think the better the teams, Everton tend to show up. I think it's when they play teams that they're expected to beat, so to speak, that they sometimes struggle. So, I like Marco Silva, but he's having a difficult time right now, and they need results. So, is he on thin ice? I suppose possibly he is on thin ice, but I believe they've got the squad to get more than enough points out of the next few games.
Great stuff. Kevin, absolute pleasure having you on this morning.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Great stuff. Kevin Campbell there, ex-Arsenal, Everton. Fantastic striker back in his day, giving his thoughts on Arsenal. Didn't pull any punches, to be fair, Patrick.
No, not at all. And I know, a lot of my mates are Arsenal fans. And they're quite split, actually, because I know he's dead against Jose Mourinho, and I understand that. I know somebody who's lived through a Jose Mourinho tenure at their club, as a lot of Chelsea fans listening will have done. I'm a United fan, obviously. It's a mixed bag. When it's good, it's really, really good. I'm going to sound like Michael Owen now. Ready for this? Ready for this?
When it's good.
When it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
On
there we go.
Amazon Prime.
He is rubbing off on you, our man Michael Owen.
I hope not.
Someone who... Is he rubbing off on us, Kieran Wellington?
I hope so by now.
You are. Your knowledge. You do impart knowledge. What knowledge have you brought us?
Well, I'm going to impart some rugby knowledge, if that's all right. We're going to do it in the next section as well. But I just wanted to run through some interesting stats that I saw this morning in the Mail's pull-out. Also, the Mail, I don't know whether you've seen this yet, Patrick. But they've done like a middle page pull-out, like most of the papers have gone with today. And in the very middle section, they've got like a hat, an origami hat.
Oh,
okay.
How to make your origami hat, and you can fold the bit of paper. It's got the little fold lines.
It's got a little bit Blue Peter, hasn't it?
Oh, fantastic.
And it's got Eddie Jones's little face.
Oh, amazing.
And Ben
Shall we
Young's
do it?
little
Let's
face.
do it. Let's do it. Do it later in the break, and
We'll
I'll
do
wear
it in the break, and then I'll put it on YouTube for all our YouTube viewers to have a look at Patrick Christys in an origami hat. But
Well, that's the dream, isn't it?
it is. It really is. It really is the dream. I want to touch on the fact that Tom Curry has been shortlisted for World Rugby's Player of the Year. Now, the lad is 21. He made his England debut at the age of 18. Eddie Jones's, I think it was second year in the post. And the lad has got so much talent. And just keep an eye on Tom Curry at the breakdown against South Africa. Everyone's been talking about South Africa's power, their tight defensive line. Yeah, I like to think we could actually not just have a different game plan, but we could also go toe-to-toe with them at South Africa's best qualities. Because we've got the likes of Maro Itoje, whose turnover statistics beat everyone hands down across the two sides. And Tom Curry, who I think got man of the match in one of the knockout games. I think it might have been against Australia. He's a key part of the side already. He's got 10 plus years in this England setup. If he's going to be, a World Cup winner at 21, people are already comparing him to Richie McCaw.
Yeah, I saw
one of the
that.
best rugby players ever. I mean, it's wonderful to have such a top player like this.
I just hope it doesn't all go to his head, because once you've reached the top of Everest at 21, normally what happens there is
There's only one way. Plummet.
Oh.
Well, James Haskell has said apparently he was invited onto local news in Japan because he loves cat cafes.
Don't we all? Don't we all love a cat cafe? One of my friends proposed to his girlfriend in a cat cafe, and he'd hollowed out an avocado and put the ring inside. He wanted me to be happy for him.
Yeah.
And you...
Well, absolutely not. That's disgusting what you've just done there, mate.
Why?
It's sickening. You've hollowed out an avocado, put an engagement ring in it, gone to a cat cafe and made the poor girl marry you. For goodness sake, she should run for the hills.
I mean, it's not the best.
Anyway, if you're listening, Danny, take care, mate. Right, let's crack on.
Yeah, Haskell calls Curry odd in the best way.
Yeah.
Which is a lovely backhanded compliment, isn't it? But Curry and Underhill, a lot's been made of the two flankers. In terms of experience, they're the least experienced in this starting 15. But they've become the key members of this side and have allowed England a different dimension. They played almost a defensive game against Australia, but an aggressive defensive game, if that makes sense. Yeah. So they kicked the ball.
Right, Michael Owen, here he is.
Sugar. They kicked the ball into Australia's territory and went, you have it, and we're going to back our defence. We're going to turn the ball over. We're going to make you do silly things. We're going to have better discipline than you. And we're going to score with the least possession possible.
Yeah.
Which actually in rugby you don't see an awful lot. And then against New Zealand, we flipped that the other way and said we're going to attack you. We're going to play very quick, very fast, and that paid off too. So the fact we've got those two different dimensions of playing and have used them in the knockout games in the highest pressure, two quite contrasting styles, and won both games. It's just really exciting.
It is indeed. And ultimately, if we score more than them, we'll probably win.
We will probably win. But Kieran makes a really good point there, that we haven't just got, when we talk about, the way New Zealand play, it's a little bit different because they are so good that they just turn up and play how they play. Talk about the way South Africa play with their kicking game, etc., the way the Aussies play, the way the French play. There isn't a way England plays.
No.
We look at it and we adapt to what is in front of us and we do it better.
We're a good all-rounder.
We're the rugby chameleon of this tournament. But I think that's great because we have got the capacity, and that's what, for me, makes this current crop of players, and I don't really like saying this, but better than the lot in 2003, is that I think we have more players who can do more different things at different times in games. We can adapt to anything. We can beat, as Kieran said, potentially play the box at their own game here and try to outmuscle them, and we'd stand a chance. We could maybe try and outkick them. We've certainly got better ball handling skills, etc. And you think about it that way, and you think, we can do it all, mate. Write the theme tune, sing the theme tune, star in the part.
There you go. Well, look, we spoke plenty of rugby. We're going to speak plenty more rugby. You know what we haven't touched on? WWE. We'll do that after
wrestling.
This.
This is Love Sport.
Full of skill, full of flair, full of desire. Fulham FC is full of fire.
Oh, what a goal!
Be there at Craven Cottage as Fulham continue their surge towards the top of the Sky Bet Championship. Watch the unmissable action live in SW6, home of London's original football club.
Absolutely brilliant.
Grab your tickets now at fulhamfc.com.
Driving too close to the car in front gives you less time to react. You may not realise that you're tailgating. Leave a 2-second gap between you and the vehicle in front. When it's wet, leave a 4-second gap. By staying back, you give yourself time to react. Stay safe. Stay back. Highways England, connecting the country.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search 1U.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard E. Patrick Christys. I've just received a blow during the break. That really hit me hard. We won't discuss it right now, but Patrick is being a little bit mean this Friday, it turns out. Something we haven't touched on this morning, Patrick. The sport of wrestling.
Oh, okay.
Very quickly, I won't go into too much detail because I know you two don't consider WWE to be at all interesting, but Tyson Fury, first ever match, WWE. Do you want to know how he got on?
Go on.
He won. Tyson Fury, first ever wrestling match, had costume, soul music, trash talk, power slams, and 1 knockout punch.
His costume, by the way,
let's
was the outfit of an Arab sheikh.
Yeah.
Now,
so they were fighting in Saudi, weren't they?
Yeah. I'm just going to put this out there. Is it racist?
I mean, he seems to have embraced the culture, maybe.
Yeah, but it'd be like turning up to France, right? Turning up to France in a beret and some onions round your neck.
Carrying a baguette.
That's exactly what I did. Just wanted to fit in.
Oh, look at him. He's embraced the culture.
He's embraced the culture.
Yeah.
Also, why do they call it a wrestling match? It's a performance.
Yeah.
Well, it does say here, this won't go down as one of Fury's greatest sporting achievements because, spoiler alert, wrestling isn't a sport. But Fury has enthusiastically thrown himself into the world of scripted fighting and has been a showman from start to finish, an venture that has reportedly earned him £12 million.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, isn't it? And fair play to him, by the way.
This ring walk, you're right. The costume's just insane.
Well, it's offensive, isn't it?
I mean,
it's not on account of the fact that clearly nobody over there, as far as we're aware, is offended. The beauty of doing it in somewhere like Saudi Arabia is that we can't tell what the backlash has been online.
Here it says, always wants to try to integrate himself to the locals. Right. Fury emerged in full Arab throbe, including headdress, and stepped out from the curtain to the soothing soul sound of the Isley Brothers. It's Your Thing, the pyrotechnics blazing. Was it subtle? No. Was it Tyson Fury? Yes.
I mean, his next wrestling match in Nigeria is going to be one for the books, isn't it?
Oh, please.
I mean,
no, we don't even want to.
Do you reckon at what point do we just go, oh, Tyson, mate, can someone just have a word?
It's that awkward moment. Oh no, he's done it. He's only got to done it. Oh no, we can't unsee this.
No.
Eddie Jones.
Eddie Jones. Okay. Let's talk Eddie Jones. That's enough wrestling.
Well, I mean, whatever happens on Saturday, either side is going to make a piece of Rugby World Cup history, because an England win would see Eddie Jones become the first coach to win the World Cup with a country that is not his own, which is quite an interesting statistic. And we often make this comparison in football, don't we? Because recently, we hadn't had a foreign manager right up until Sven. And then Sven, it had the Golden Generation quarterfinals. And then we went back to an English manager, went for Steve McLaren. And then we went, oh gosh, we should get a foreign coach, Fabio Capello. So we've had some issues in the football world with foreign managers. But, Eddie Jones, he's been head coach when Australia got to the 2003 final, and obviously we won. And then in 2007... he was actually part of the South Africa coaching staff that beat England in that 2007 final. So this guy has got more experience at World Cup finals than any coach in the land. So this is great to see that, he will make history if he wins the Rugby World Cup final. He's got a contract till 2021, but there's rumours that he will just... There must be a break clause or some description.
What, that he would
to say that he will just walk away.
Really? See, I think if he wins, I think he should walk away. I don't want him to, because I think he's fantastic. But I always thought that when I was a kid and used to dream of winning the World Cup. It didn't happen, obviously. But when I used to dream of that, like, it would always be, if I ever won the World Cup, I would have quit that moment.
I get what you mean, absolutely. And I've thought this about him because he's set objectives at the start. That famous first team meeting he ever had with his England players, where he said, I want to get to world number 1, I want to win the World Cup, and I want to change your lives. Well, not quite this time tomorrow, but not far off. He could have done that. And if you've ticked all those boxes, the only way from there is down. Unless he just wins every single game from now until forever, the only way is down.
The only way is down.
So I don't want him to go at all. But the question is as well, where does he go?
Well,
he sails off into the sunset.
Well, just
you think he just
retires?
Retires.
Oh,
I just think that whoever then comes in, someone will take that job, but that's then the David Moyes following the Sir Alex Ferguson role.
Well, yes and no, but I think rugby's a bit different because you've got, the Warren Gatlands of this world who, I think he's unequivocally brilliant, isn't he? Eddie Jones could, I suppose, go and do Wales for a bit, couldn't he?
He could do. We had Eddie Jones's biographer on the show last week, and he actually said he might go back to Australia and try and right the wrongs of 2003.
Yeah,
because obviously that, is his home country.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So that could well happen. But also, there's a piece of history in the making for South Africa, because if they win, they'll become the first side to lift the World Cup, having lost earlier in the tournament. Now, rugby, unlike football, you kind of is a bit more of a predictable pathway to the knockout stages. But of course, South Africa and New Zealand were drawn against each other in the pool stages, which actually felt like a knockout game in the opening match for that pool. They were defeated 23-13 by New Zealand, and obviously, not a great start, but they did push New Zealand for most of that match. So it'll be interesting to see that, would you rather be going into a World Cup final with a head coach that isn't from your country and make history, or would you rather have lost a game and make history that way?
It doesn't really bother me. Does it bother you?
No, not particularly. No,
as long as we win.
Yeah, as long as we win. Exactly. What I also like about this England side, it's the youngest to take the field in a World Cup final in the professional era. So rugby went fully professional in 1995.
Yep.
The average age of the 15 men wearing the red rose in Yokohama tomorrow is 27 years and 60 days. But they actually have more international caps than the side that won in 2003.
Wow.
So what Eddie Jones has been able to do in his tenure for 4.5 years is slowly integrate the players. You can tell he has had not just a short-term vision, not just a medium-term, he's had this vision 4.5 years in the making. He knew, roughly. Obviously, you have unpredictable players that come into the mix and drop out for whatever reason. But he's been building up, he's got now a young side, but also an experienced side by the same measure. And they have all played in big matches.
I think that's it, and that's one thing that maybe is going a little bit under the radar in this, which has been that this is very much a 4-year preparation job for Eddie Jones that has culminated in him now, as you've said, Kieran, having a young side that is full of explosive power, but also at the same time a lot of experience. And that's the impressive thing. That doesn't just happen. That has been a 4-year plan, hasn't it, really?
It has indeed. Now, Rich, just to complete my stats pack for you, would you ever, heading into a big match, look at the most recent fixtures you've had against that side for a mental edge or not? Or would you just judge it on the day?
Yeah, more so the day.
Yeah. So pundits might read a little bit too much then into previous kind of matches between each other. But the head-to-head record is very close, basically.
Okay.
Between
what
these
about
two
the recent
sides.
head-to-head?
Yeah, so these coaches have met 4 times, and it's 2 wins apiece. So we had a tour in South Africa in the summer of last year. South Africa won that tour 2-1.
Yep.
They won the first 2 games. I mean, South Africa 42, England 39. I mean, can you imagine if it's that high scoring tomorrow?
No chance.
I mean, no chance, but can you imagine?
How was it that high scoring? Is that just different?
Yeah,
this
it's different
goes back. I suppose that goes back to my
circumstances.
point. That goes back to my point.
Yeah.
It's going to be a completely different game.
Of course. South Africa then won in Bloemfontein 23-12. We won the consolation. It was a dead rubber, 25-10. And then in the most recent fixture in November at Twickenham of last year, England won 12-11, which is much more likely to be a scoreline that we might see in Yokohama tomorrow. But just 2 points basically separate England and South Africa in the test between Jones and Erasmus. England lead 88-86 in those matches.
Would you take that if I were to give you a scenario now that we're going to be 12-11 up with 10 minutes to go?
Yeah.
You'd take that?
Yeah, I mean, we'd
You
all
think
be
we'd be able to shut
nervous
it out?
wrecks.
Yeah, we would.
But yeah, I think 12-11 with 10 minutes to go with our bench. You know, we have the finishers, as Eddie Jones likes to call them. You know, I have such faith now in the 23, not just in the 15.
Yeah.
You know, and you bring on that bench, and you've got experience there with the likes of Dan Cole. You've got people like George Cruz, who might feel slightly unlucky to have been left out of the starting 15, that will come in and take the places of the guys that are starting. And yeah, you just have confidence in everyone's ability that takes to that field tomorrow.
I'm just trying to. I'm just imagining being in the pub now, and it is 12-11 with 10 minutes to go. Just what the atmosphere there's like.
Yeah.
I reckon I'm just going to be gripping onto the pint glass so hard it'll just shatter.
Crush.
I won't even notice.
You won't even feel the pain.
The glass will have gone straight through my hand. I'll just be sat there, just motionless, just watching the telly. It'll be over. I'll look down. Oh, right then, lads. Better go to A&E.
And everybody will have the same thing going on.
Everyone.
Yeah.
We're just right. Look, I think if we book 4 ambulances, I think 4 will do us.
4 will
so
do
we
it.
all just get in.
4
Come
will
on.
do it. Yeah. Just a quick one. He mentioned Fabio Capello. A bit of a tangent, but I've got a funny story on Fabio.
Go on.
So Ben Foster, when he was in the England squad at the time, and I always remember him coming back, and he was a little bit embarrassed by it. I was like, "What happened?" He said, "Well, it was quite wet, and they were doing a session where you had to come out and smother the ball. Ball's broke. Ben's come sprinting out, smothered the ball, couldn't stop his momentum. Fabio Capello's facing the other way.
Oh, no.
He just wiped him out. He wiped him out. He said it was one of the funniest things when Fabio Capello went over and he just took him out from behind. Brilliant. Anyway,
How did Fabio react?
not well.
No, really.
Well, he's quite a serious character, isn't he? So
He's miserable, isn't he?
yeah, but no, just made me think of it when I thought,
Oh,
okay, Fabio Capello. The time is 14 minutes to 8.
Giving your team a voice. Love Sport Radio.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Henna men. Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're
secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're
Tenna men. Keep control.
Urine?
No.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long. but can prevent a breakdown or accident and save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it, you just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F. Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A. Arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S. Speech. Is their speech slurred? T. Time. Time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999.
As a parent, you always want to protect your kids, so make sure their vaccinations are up to date. Measles and whooping cough are on the rise and can cause severe illness, but childhood vaccinations can help prevent them. Are your child's up to date? Find out more. Search online for NHS vaccinations.
Love sport.
Love for breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Of course, we've got a full list of Premier League fixtures this weekend. One of those fixtures, AFC Bournemouth taking on Manchester United in the early kick-off tomorrow. Delighted to say we've got Peter Rutzler, Bournemouth correspondent for The Athletic, on the line to go through it with us. Morning, Peter.
Morning, how are you?
Well, yeah, good, thanks. Hope you're well. Lots to discuss when it comes to Bournemouth. Naturally, with my goalkeeping background, I want to speak about your goalkeeper who's making waves, Mr. Aaron Ramsdale, doing well.
Yes, absolutely. He's done really, really well, and he was rewarded for it with a new contract last month. He has done really, really well. I mean, if you take it in isolation from the summer, came back from Wimbledon, 3 other goalkeepers to compete with, one of which is Asmir Begovic, Artur Boruc, and Mark Travers as well, who made his debut at the back end of last season. Came in, impressed Eddie Howe sufficiently, and has just taken to the Premier League like a duck to water, really.
Yeah, well, look, absolutely. And just quickly before we get into more of the nitty-gritty element of it, how long is it before Eduardo Housini's name starts getting thrown into the Arsenal mix, do you reckon? That's Eddie Howe, by the way.
Just had a pause for a second. I mean, Eddie's name comes up with most of the big jobs, really. I mean, whenever there's some sort of speculation, Everton, Marco Silva, he was a boyhood Everton fan. Tottenham, when Mauricio Pochettino sort of teetering. So naturally, his name comes up. I think David Ornstein, our senior correspondent, said that he wasn't on their shortlist, but he was discussed when they were looking to replace Arsene Wenger. But I mean, Eddie's always linked with these jobs, and I think for him, it's he's always said he's ambitious, but he's got a very good thing down on the South Coast. It's his club. He has control of everything from recruitment to every aspect. He's involved in, and obviously got a new training ground coming as well. So it's always a bit of a lurch for him. His family are on the South Coast too. So I mean, it won't naturally should Emery depart. I mean, we could talk about that another time, but I think he certainly will always have his name linked until he does make a step up, because that's just the nature of it with Bournemouth doing so well, and they are doing so well. I think people forget, they sort of disappear into the quagmire that is the middle of the Premier League. But that's no mean feat for a club the size of Bournemouth, and naturally he'll get those links, and I fully expect them to come to pass again.
Yeah, you mentioned that it's quite rare now actually to have a manager that has that much control at a football club, which he does. But I wanted to ask you about the start that Bournemouth made. 13 points, 10 games. Haven't scored though in the last 3, so it's a solid start, and obviously top half. So reasonably pleasing so far.
I mean, it's very Bournemouth, isn't it? It's been a bit seesaw, I think, is the best way of describing it. September was a really good month. It came in off the back of an international break where there was a feeling of, a bit of disappointment, and a disappointing defeat at Leicester, a few questions surrounding certain players, and it was like, where are we going? And then came back in September, really good run of form, 2 wins, 1 draw, West Ham and Everton in that mix, so, really quite confident. Came back, and then, we faced Arsenal in October and did well, defensively did really well, and the second half was quite good, but 1-0, a defeat, which is a shame, and then the most recent 2 results against Watford and Norwich, I think are quite disappointing, really. I mean, but they're the 2 teams that have conceded the most goals in the league. Bournemouth have blanked, which is so unlike Bournemouth. It's been a long time since they've had 2 back-to-back 0-0 draws, and it is the seesaw because during their good form in September, their attacking form was great. They were scoring goals, but again, it was defensive issues that were the concern. Now it's flipped on its head last month. Defensively, really solid, clean sheets, deserved clean sheets. Great for Aaron Ramsdale too, as you mentioned before. You know, he's more than deserved it because his performances have been outstanding in individual matches at key moments. But he showed that sort of progression, and then obviously drawing blanks against Watford and Norwich is not ideal. So again, it's about, I think, readdressing that balance again.
An interesting stat that I saw, they've lost 24 of their last 28 league games versus sides from the established top six. Of course, United, although they're struggling, they are still part of that group. Is this a good time to play United? Bearing in mind that United, they have now won 3 on the bounce away from home, albeit a couple of cup games in there as well. But is this a good time or a bad time to face United?
We asked Arnaut Danjuma that last week, and he was like, yeah, I think it is. But I think the thing with United is, I think the most recent couple of results, they look like they've kicked up a gear. I mean, their issue was also scoring goals for a time, but I think their statistics are actually pretty strong. Their performances haven't been as bad as their results have necessarily suggested. But as you say, Bournemouth's record against the top six is pretty poor. Whether that was an inferiority complex that still needs to be overcome, I'm not entirely sure. But they have beaten United at the Vitality before. The squad looks stronger than it ever has, really, especially in attacking positions. The only player still waiting to come back from injury is David Brooks. And I think Bournemouth will go into that knowing that they've got a strong squad with potential in all areas, and with clean sheets as well. they'll feel like they can on their day be the complete package, and they'll feel with United mid-table at the moment, not pushing on to the top six, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer still under pressure, really. I mean, if he loses, he will certainly feel the wrath of the media again. I think it's an opportunity, but I think every home game is like that. And Eddie Howe said it himself. When you drop points against Watford and Norwich, you have to treat every game as though you can take points from it, and that's what they'll be doing tomorrow.
One other individual I want to talk about, Callum Wilson, who's interesting stats. 69% of his shots have been on target this season, which is a Premier League high. Will he relish the chance tomorrow playing, I suppose, directly against Rashford to an extent, both obviously vying for that England spot? What have you made of him this season? Is this the kind of game he'll relish?
I'm massively impressed with Callum Wilson. Obviously, last month was disappointing and Bournemouth didn't score. I don't think he had a shot against Watford, which kind of reflects the fact that it was as much the service as it is his own displays. But he scored 5 and 5 before that. He looks sharp. He looks quick. He's a regular in the England squad now. It doesn't always seem to be talked about so much, and I guess that's common with anything to do with Bournemouth. It doesn't really get the same discussion level. But he is an elite striker. He's extremely well driven. He wants to target 2-3 goals a month, which should take him to 20 for the season. And more than that, he's always setting new goals. He's never happy. He came out once and he said, "Look, I'd never like scoring 1 goal. I need to score 2. I need to score 3." And that kind of mentality has really pushed him on, and is kind of symbolic of Bournemouth as a whole, really, because there's that ambition to push on and drive and do better. And yeah, I think the chance to go up against Rashford and show what he can do, or show what he can offer, is one he looks forward to. I think he does have the complete package, and I think with Vardy now, Vardy's in such good form, and it's crazy to think he's not really in England managers' thinking, but with Vardy not in that setup, that's sort of Wilson's position to go in there, to be the striker that runs off the back, who does score goals, gets in the right positions, and offer competition for Harry Kane too. Harry Kane's form hasn't been electric, and I feel like with Wilson, if he can get his head down and get another good run of form going, he certainly can be pushing a Kane at least, because he does have the ability and he has the drive to do that as well.
Indeed, great stuff. Peter, appreciate you joining us.
No worries. Have a good day.
Peter Rutzler there, Bournemouth correspondent for The Athletic. So, Patrick, slight issue. I think you sometimes may forget that not everybody refers to him as Eduardo Halzini.
That's what I did forget.
Yes.
Because I refer to Eddie Howe as Eduardo Halzini all the time.
Yeah. The silence on the other end of the phone.
Samuel Aladici is another one.
Yeah.
And then, so no, because it was, I didn't realise why he wasn't talking.
Yeah, we need to remember that we have our own language here. We literally have created our own language, which at times can confuse our guests.
Yeah, but no, genuinely, because it got quite a long way into the pause that he did after I asked my question before I realised I have actually just referred to Eddie Howe as Eduardo Halzini. So apologies to everyone.
Could you imagine I'm trying to put myself in his shoes. He's probably thinking, oh my God, is there a player? Is there a player that I don't know about? Oh no, it's going to be so awkward, so embarrassing. Oh, he's talking about Eddie Howe. oh, the guy's a bit of a numpty. That
Yeah.
must have been what would have gone through.
Yeah,
his-
so on. Yeah.
Just very quickly on this game, United obviously looking better away from home. Bournemouth away. From United's perspective, another opportunity to get an away win?
It's going to be a very tough game, this, for Manchester United. Bournemouth, I'm just such a massive fan of Bournemouth Football Club and Eddie Howe, or Eduardo Hazini. I think it's going to be a really tough test for Manchester United. If they can overcome this, and if they can get a result there, I think that we can safely say that United are at least partly back at it. Because it's in comparative terms what they're going to Solskjaer.
Indeed. 3 minutes to 8.
Love sport.
Stop paying too much for your energy bills. Brian saved money on his at a spokesmansaid.com. Can you?
I'm Brian from Swaddling Coat, South Derbyshire, and I saved about £400 on my energy bill with a Spokesman Said. The iSpokesman Said website was very easy to use, and the money I saved I put towards a holiday.
Compare home energy quotes from the UK's biggest suppliers in just a matter of minutes with a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Brilliant, I've finally quit.
I can keep up with my kids now.
I feel like I've got my life back.
It's an amazing feeling when you stop smoking. Experience it for yourself with help from Smoke Free. Our range of free support can help you quit for good. From our app to emails, face-to-face and online communities. Search Smoke Free, because there's only one you.
Whoa! Look how much saturated fat is in these chocolate biscuits. It's surprising how much is in our food and drinks. For us kids, eating too much saturated fat can lead to harmful fat building up inside, which we can't see, increasing the risk of heart disease or stroke when we get older. So be food smart. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app and start making healthier choices today.
There are many things a mother can pass on to her baby. Her smile, her eye colour, and her immunity to whooping cough. Whooping cough is a very dangerous illness for young babies, and at the moment it's spreading fast. A simple vaccination during your pregnancy can help to protect your baby in their first weeks. Please speak to your GP, nurse, or healthcare professional and pass on your immunity.
Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Another big hour awaits us. We have Phil Vickery, World Cup winner in 2003, captain in 2007. He will be on the line in about 15 minutes' time. We've also got Nick Easter, former number 8 for England, played at 3 World Cups, including 2007. It is, of course, a rugby-oriented. I don't know, one of those two. It is all about rugby today because, of course, in 25 hours' time, we will be lining up against South Africa. So we'll be talking a lot of rugby in the next hour. As always, you can get in touch, 0208 7020 558 on the WhatsApp, at Love Sport Radio on the socials, also on YouTube these days as well. Just simply type in Love Sport Breakfast. The time is 8 o'clock.
On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 8, Downing Street has insisted the UK will be able to strike free trade deals around the world after Brexit. It's after Donald Trump claimed that under Boris Johnson's current withdrawal agreement, a trading pact with America wouldn't be possible. But Housing Secretary Robert Jenrick says he's confident of the benefits.
Having left the European Union, having left the Customs Union, with the whole United Kingdom leaving together, there is a real opportunity for the UK to sign good free trade deals with a number of fast-growing and important economies around the world, including the United States.
Labour's accused the US president of trying to interfere in the general election. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage has refused to rule out the prospect of withdrawing hundreds of Brexit Party candidates to target a small number of Labour-held seats. It's thought the party's strategy is to focus on up to just 40 Leave voting areas instead. It's due to reveal more details later this morning. A girl's been hit by a car which had been shot at while she was out trick-or-treating on Merseyside. Police say the 12-year-old's injuries aren't life-threatening. A loophole allowing drivers to use their phone at the wheel for taking a picture or changing the music is going to be closed. Current laws which ban texting or calling are being updated for smartphones. At the Rugby World Cup, Wales face New Zealand in an hour's time in the third-place playoff in Japan. It's Warren Gatland's last match in charge of the team. He says the Welsh fans have always been good to him.
They've been challenging at times, but they've made it worthwhile in terms of just how welcomed welcoming they've been and for me in Wales and just hospitable. It really is a second home for me being in Wales.
England take on South Africa in the final tomorrow morning, UK time. And England's cricketers have made a strong start to their 2020 international series in New Zealand. Owen Morgan's men clinched a 7-wicket win in their opening match in Christchurch. That's the latest. I'm Kit Bradshaw.
This is Love Sport. The B&Q 3 for 2 offer is now on, including an unmissable 3 for 2 on all paint, such as Dulux, Valspar and Farrow and Ball. Our show-stopping deal ends this Sunday, so hurry to B&Q. You can do it when you're 3 for 2 it. Every third item per single transaction in descending price order free. See DIY.com.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Morning. Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Let's touch
What
on
a
those
morning
headlines.
it is, by the way, mate.
What a morning to be alive.
What a morning.
What a morning. Let's touch on the headlines. The Rugby World Cup final is 24 hours, 57 minutes and 3 seconds away. 2 seconds away. 1 second away.
Yes!
That's
We're going to
coming
win.
up. We are.
We're going to be world champions.
Granit Xhaka finally released a statement via Arsenal Twitter account. There's more details on Richard Keogh's sacking, which have been revealed. James Vince and debut bowlers star as England comfortably beat New Zealand in Chris Silverwood's first game in charge. Wales captain Alan Wynne-Jones prepares for the last ever World Cup game against the All Blacks. And the biggest news of the day, Alan Shearer is to team up with Michael Owen for Amazon Prime's Premier League coverage.
Oh, gosh. It's not really Amazon Prime, that is it? It's Amazon past your Prime.
There you go. I see what you've done there.
Yeah.
Very, very clever. We have a big hour. We got Phil Vickery coming on again. It's just like I want this to become a
I
resident.
love him.
I want this to become a regular.
No, because this is it, right? We had Phil Vickery on yesterday. We'll get him on again. Eddie Jones has come out and gone, we can inspire our whole country. There's rugby fever going on. Mums are telling kids to play. We've got this, now I'm paraphrasing. We've got people down at pubs, left, right and centre. We've normalised early morning drinking, which I think we excel at in this country. Not only are we going to win the World Cup of rugby after we've won the World Cup of cricket, but we're going to win the World Cup of early morning drinking. And I, for one, am fine with that. We've been practising long and hard at airports up and down the country for generations, and finally we've peaked.
Fantastic. So you genuinely think... Is there any part of you that has any doubt?
Not at all, mate.
No doubt.
Not at all. I'm all in or I'm all out. And that's why I'm a terrible poker player.
Right.
But this is I'm all in on this. Eddie Jones has shown me nothing in the throughout this tournament to suggest that he doesn't already know exactly how this game is going to plan out against Africa, exactly how his team are going to play, exactly how they're going to play, and exactly how we're going to win. The guy is a genius.
Fantastic.
Knight him.
Well, I believe we do have an incredibly special guest on the line. You know who it is, Patrick. Do you want to do the introduction?
Oh, he's my favourite guest.
I know he is.
He actually
Go on,
is.
I'll allow you to do the introduction. You do the build-up.
It's the inspirational. It's the motivational. It's the sublime. It's the enigmatic. It's the passionate. It's the emotional. Oh, it's the rabble-rousing. It is the one, the only Phil Vickery, World Cup winner. How are you, Phil?
Morning, boys.
Yes, Phil. Yes, Phil.
How was that for a tour cut, Phil? Was that okay?
I'll tell you what, that was big. You let it go at the end a little bit. It was
I know.
deflation, wasn't it?
Well, this is it. You see, you
got
can
it brilliantly.
Yeah.
He was really going for it. You could feel the momentum building, and then
Yeah.
as the whistle came and it blew, it
Yeah.
kind of just sort of
I peaked,
just
mate.
meandered into mediocrity.
I peaked. This is it, you see, and this is what the England players need to make sure they don't do.
Well, this is where Phil can offer you advice, you see, because Phil's done this. He's given this talk. You need to have a crescendo, don't you, Phil?
Oh, boys, I tell you.
Oh,
I was
mate,
excited yesterday, but do you know what? Last night, so I was in London Town last night. I was at an event, and all the things I talk about. I know you think I'm bonkers, but so I'm at the event. Who do I see there? Steve Thompson, Lewis Moody, Neil Back. Those boys won Rugby World Cup. You don't go in for a handshake, straight in for a squeeze.
Yes.
I haven't seen Tomo for ever many months. Straight in for a squeeze. You know, it's like. Oh, we're here.
Mate,
What's going to happen? What's going to happen? When are we going to do it? What's going to happen? Don't know. Oh, God, you know.
Did you see Joe Marler and Dan Cole yesterday in that press conference giving each other a hug? And it was just sublime. This England
listen,
team, though.
I know. Listen, I know I bang on about it, but those boys tomorrow have they can change their lives forever. tomorrow. And that is such a special thing to be able to do. And they'll remember those boys like the same as now. When I walk into a room with us old farts together, when you walk into a room with the Rugby World Cup guys that you've done that with, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Even without thinking about it, that happens and still happens. Happened again last night. You know, it's such a magical thing. It really, really is.
A lot was being made about Owen Farrell today. They're saying that he's got this skill where he's in press conferences and he doesn't give too much away, and he kind of bats things away and gives your trademark answers to stuff. But clearly, behind the scenes, he is such a driving force in that England setup and a motivational force as well. Do you know much about him in that sense? Have you heard anything come out about him?
I mean, I only just what you can see is fairly evident. Even when you watch him, actually see his journey at Saracens and how the Saracens have built, around his leadership, coming as a young man and coming through. But even I'd advise anyone watching the game, who doesn't necessarily understand the game hugely, but are going to be watching the game tomorrow. If you watch Owen Farrell in the quiet times, you watch him marshalling around, organising, talking to people, communicating. Yes, with lots of other people. He's doing his job brilliantly, but he's talking to his players. He's so important to that team and gives confidence. You know, even as a supporter and as a fan, for me, I get confidence from when he's playing, because he can just see he's got that edge of a competitor and someone who wants to compete. And it's a little bit edgy, but I like that. I like that edginess, but at the same time, you can see it's so important. But tomorrow it's about Owen Farrell and doing his job, but it's also about 23 other players. When given opportunity, you've got to make sure that you go out and perform and do your jobs properly. And undoubtedly he's an integral part of that, but so is, we used to call it our little mini leaders. So you had like a front row, captain, in the sense of making sure that they as a front row, you knew that what you were doing was right. And second row, a line-out captain, a defensive captain, and then an organisational captain, and then you ended up with more captains and you had players on the field. But it made people feel quite good. But it is about ownership tomorrow. And, just can't wait, just cannot wait for it to start. I'll tell you what, boys, it just would be amazing, honestly. And I keep saying it, but it'd just be amazing for those boys to bring it back. That William Webb Ellis Trophy, coming back on the airplane, arriving back into Heathrow, the people, the fans. Think of all the sports clubs tomorrow. Not just rugby clubs, but sports clubs tomorrow with young, old, people support rugby, don't, but just communities coming together, sharing bacon sandwiches or sausage roll, whatever it is, but just coming together through watching sport and wishing England on. I listened to a clip this morning from Jeff Hurst talking about that 66 team and his goal, and actually didn't mean to score it. He wanted to whack it in the crowd because he wanted to get it out of the way, because he knew it was the end of the game. He said, "I miss it," and it went to the top corner. And, you think about those things, it made me smile. And then the little VTs from our World Cup in 2003, and the VTs from the cricket boys this summer, and what they did, and it's just those boys tomorrow.
It's amazing, mate. It's just going to be so good for this country, for everyone in it. Really is. Just on Eddie Jones quickly, he said that his objective at the start was to get England to world number one, to win a World Cup, and as you rightly put it, to change these lads' lives. And pretty much this time tomorrow, give or take a few hours, of course, he might have achieved all that. And do you think he'll stick around? Is there anything we can do to make him stick around? Do you think he should have a new challenge? What do you reckon?
I think it's a tough one, isn't it? He's done so much, with his England tenure. It's been incredible. But if he could finish tomorrow with that win, he's ticked every single box. Would it be great to have him stay around? Yes, it would be great. Is he going to? Goodness knows. But also at the same time, it's thinking about that next step, isn't it? Thinking about, that positioning, in the sense of when you think about 2003 and Clive Woodward, you could be critical and say, what was the plan after that? So actually, with Eddie Jones and being so reliant on Eddie, so what are the next steps? He's going to take this England team forward. I'd like to think Eddie will stay around and with the transition, team and coaching team to take this England team forward. 'Cause I do think they will develop and get better. but it's above my pay grade, all that stuff. It's above my pay grade. But I think that needs to be thought about. Will Eddie want to move on? Historically, when you look where he's been, he's never stayed too long, and he's moved on, and another challenge. And I think actually from a team, sometimes it's not good to have a coach who's constantly there. And I remember of anything from '03. I remember coming back, being world champions, going into that next Six Nations, and just hearing that same noise and the same communications and same language. And actually, it's another thing. We need to change. We need to freshen up here. We need to do something different. So all those things will be being talked about, I'm sure. Would I love to see Eddie Jones stay around for a bit longer? Yeah, of course I would. I'd like to see him bring through and develop this England team even more, because I think it can get better.
Indeed. So I've got to ask you, morning of a World Cup final, you wake up, of course there's some nerves, there'll naturally be some nerves, a bit of excitement. What do you do in the morning of the World Cup? Do you go for a walk? Do you have obviously have set breakfast on, I'm sure?
Yeah, you go through your routines and you do your morning meets and silly things like everyone meets up, is everyone healthy and fit and well. So we have a little bit of a checklist to make sure everyone's okay. And but it's a tough one because you've got the whole day, because there's an evening kickoff. So you've got the whole day to wait. It's not like being at home so much, where you have your afternoon kickoffs. You wake up in the morning, and the morning's pretty much gone, even if you're really nervous. So you've got to wait that whole day, and that preparation is so important, because you can play the games too many times in your head. You get emotional, and suddenly you get to the evening, and you're like, oh my God, my energy levels are low. I feel exhausted. So it's just about making sure that routine, making that going over in your head. You have a little team meeting, get together on just recapping on things and how things should be. But then it's more about the strength and conditioning, looking at your recovery, looking at the rehydration, all the simple things which are going to make the difference when it comes to the game in the evening. But just making sure you don't get too carried away, and you've almost got to de-emotionalise yourself, if there's ever such a thing, and just be really, really honed in on hydration, thinking about preparation. You'll be thinking about 2 or 3 maximum things, your points, what's critical to you, what have we said in the week preparation. You'll be thinking about your opposite number and just ticking those things off in your head, and just making sure that you've got absolute clarity in everything that's ready to go for the evening.
Can I just ask? Is it true that so Clive Woodward was did an interview today, and he said that at about 4:30 in the morning, the Australian Fire Brigade went round the England hotel with the sirens on. Was that true? Did that wake you up on the morning in 2003?
There's lots of things go on to Spygate. I mean, we had. I remember at a time we had had to sweep all the changing rooms because the listening devices were found.
Wow.
And, all that stuff's been going on for donkey's years, and anything to put off. I just remember particularly in '03, the crowds outside the hotel, were just incredible in the build-up. It was just constantly there. I mean, they weren't trying to see me; they were trying to find Mr. Wilkinson most of the time. But the guys going out who were dressed up and in disguise, and it was just a whole load of things going on.
Fantastic, Phil. As always, absolute pleasure having you on.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you, mate.
Great stuff. Enjoy the game tomorrow. Phil Vickery, the England World Cup winner in 2003, captain in 2007, living legend indeed.
If you could just bottle his passion, and have that same amount of passion for anything that you do in life, we'd all be much more successful.
You are. Just a little injection before each show we did.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Oh, Patrick's unfortunately tested positive for Phil Vickery. And
he's had an overdose of Phil Vickery.
He's going to be out for at least 6 months.
Indeed. We're going to be speaking to Nick Easter, former England number 8. Played at 3 World Cups. He's coming up this hour also, 16 minutes past 8.
This is Love Sport.
You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage. You're in leakage. You're in leakage, you're in leakage.
Tenna men.
Cage.
Pants and pads.
You're
discreet. Masculine.
You're
secure absorption zone. Buy online or in shops.
You're in
Tenna men. Keep control.
Urine?
No.
Oh, it's okay. Let's face it, when your kids are ill, you'd do anything to help them feel better. But remember, antibiotics aren't always needed. You might not realise it, but taking antibiotics when you don't need them puts you and your family at risk of a longer and more severe illness. Help keep your family well. Always take your doctor's advice on antibiotics. Search NHS antibiotics. All better.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident. And save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel, and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
If you fall asleep at the wheel, you'll put your life in danger, and the lives of others as well. Before you feel tired, pull off the road into a services or other safe area. Drink some strong coffee, and take a quick nap while the caffeine kicks in.
If you're having a nap, you've left your lights on, sir.
Right, cheers.
Think. Don't drive tired.
This is Love Sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio, me, Richard Lee, and Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Something I want to discuss, Patrick, if you're open to a discussion. I kind of hope you are, because we're doing a radio show. Richard Keogh.
Oh, yeah, the Derby player. Well, former.
Former. This is it, right? So he has been sacked by the club. He is appealing, from what we understand. He's got lawyers involved. I think he spoke to the PFA. He's been sacked because he didn't have his seatbelt on.
Yeah, so this is the whole Derby went out on a team bonding exercise that involved a pub and drinking. And then some players were filmed being sick into urinals and drinking too much. And then some drove home. And Richard Keogh was in the passenger seat of one of the cars that was involved in a collision. Both of the drivers of the cars, both Tom Lawrence and Mason Bennett, were over the limit. They fled the scene and then returned, roughly speaking, about 45 minutes later. Both of those players are still Derby players and are still representing the club. In fact, they were given 180 hours of unpaid work and a 12-month community order at Derby Magistrates Court. They pled guilty to drink driving and escaped with club fines of 6 weeks' wages. Now, to contrast that, Richard Keogh, who was in the passenger seat, was not wearing his seatbelt, suffered a knee injury that means that he might be out for around a year or 18 months. He's 33 years old, and the club offered him a reduced rate. So they said to him, well, we can take you off your £29,000 a week contract and put you on a £3,000 a week contract. To which he said no, and then they sacked him for gross misconduct, i.e. not wearing a seatbelt. Now, he's appealed. Now, I can't help but feel as though they've made a rod for their own back here, Derby, because if I'm Richard Keogh, I probably know where the bodies are buried in that particular Derby setup. He's played 360 times for the club. He was club captain, and they have just got rid of him.
Yep.
Now, I'm not trying to justify his stupidity here, not at all. He was stupid, and he does deserve a reduced rate for that, and he's put his own career in jeopardy by not wearing his seatbelt, and I do understand, and getting in the car with two people who are battered, right? I do get all of that. But now, if a Derby player is filmed leaving the training ground without a seatbelt on, do you sack them for gross misconduct? Because that seems to now be the path of the course. When Wayne Rooney comes in on 100 odd grand a week, and inevitably, he's pictured at a Hooters somewhere around the Derby area at 4 o'clock in the morning with what looks like a nice new frosty pint glass in front of him, what happens there? Does he get sacked for gross misconduct? I find it a little bit ageist, this.
Well, right, so this is my point, is that we talk about cause and effect. Like, you look at the three players, as it stands, the two that were drink driving are physically okay now. Of course, they didn't get injured in this accident, so they're physically okay. Richard Keogh, who wasn't driving, who was a passenger, who was probably, in fact not probably, I would say definitely in my case, he was the least guilty of the three, has ended up getting this most severe punishment. How much part does luck have to play in that? Actually, do you know what, you mentioned that if someone gets in the car without their seatbelt and drives away, nothing happens to, of course it doesn't, until they go and have that crash, which then renders them unable to play for 18 months at that point. But then it's like the cause is still the same. Does that make sense? It's still the same action.
But I think it's about what position you put yourself in, however unlikely something is. Because, right, we all know that you can get unlucky at times, you can get lucky at times. But as a club captain with two younger players who if one of them have just been sick in a urinal in a pub because they've been drinking too much on a Tuesday, by the way, do you let them drive? Do you get in the car with them? do you not wear your seatbelt? Now, if they'd have just got home safe, we'd have never heard about this. Richard Keogh's name would never have been in the press too much. But they didn't. And he did put himself in that situation, mate.
And my point is, if it's in isolation, if he's on his own and this has happened, if he's jumped in a cab. John, I'm trying to put this in another way. Let's say he's gone and done the same thing, but rather than getting in the car with them, he's gone in a cab.
Yeah.
And this has happened.
And his cab driver's got done for drink driving after a crash and he's injured his knee. Well, given that they have said to him he's not wearing his seatbelt, fine. But when someone wants you out of a company, they just find any excuse. They find any excuse.
That's it. Look, he's 33. He's 33-year-old. And by the way, obviously, he was offered a pay cut. And this pay cut is a joke. 29 grand a week reduced to, reportedly 3 grand a week. So do you take the pay cut or do you actually say, no, I'm going to fight you in court and I know that I'll get more than 3 grand a week, which I think he will, by the way. I think they'll end up meeting somewhere in the middle and he'll get a payoff and it'll get sorted. Not get sorted because he won't get anywhere near what he's currently on because they have got... But this is it, and I do appreciate this. They have got grounds to sack him. That's fine. But the point is the three of them, arguably he's the least guilty of the three. Why don't they sack the other two? Because they know the moment they sack them, they go and join another club and instantly the next club has an asset value of 10 million quid on their hands because they've just signed 2 very, very good younger players.
I would be willing to put a bet on at the minute because a couple of footballers have spoken out. Harry Arter has spoken out. So the one left unconscious in the car and not arrested gets sacked. And then there's a couple of others. Jeff Hendrick has got in touch to say, I agree, talk about kicking a man, the captain, while he's down instead of helping him through his physically and mentally tough time. Now, this is it, you see, because the other thing is, presumably, because he's been sacked, he will now no longer benefit from the club's medical facilities.
No. Which is a fortune, by the way.
Which he will need.
Which he will need.
And the mental distress that he can say that he's going to, that he probably has got from this, I'm willing to put a bet on that now, that he is going to end up settling out of court, or indeed through the courts actually, with Derby for more money than for something in the millions. I reckon between 1 and 2 mil.
I hope he does. And this, I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again. When you talk about players lacking loyalty to a football club, it's moments like this. Whereas I think he's been at the football club 7 years, played 350 games. The fans love him. The club apparently loved him. Now, go back to the incident. What's he done? He's gone on a team night out. It wasn't like it was him going off on his own. It's a team night out that, okay, maybe he's had 1 or 2 more than he should. Fine. He's got in a car. Now, you can argue that different ways, but essentially he's got in a car and just not put his seatbelt on. Really, is that enough for the club to do what they've done to him? I don't think so. And that's where the club then, talk about players having loyalty towards a football club. It's moments like this where then players do become mercenaries and actually say, do you know what? I know what the club can do to me. It's all nice when I'm playing well, but the second that something goes against me, the second I make a small mistake, which it is, a small mistake on his part, it's a much bigger mistake, the other two, who aren't getting sacked, he gets treated like this. I think it's disgusting.
I'm inclined to agree with you, mate. I can't get over the fact, though, that for me, he's put himself in a stupid situation, and sometimes this is the way the cookie crumbles. If he hadn't have got in that car, it wouldn't have happened, and he shouldn't have got in that car. I agree. I absolutely agree. And you cannot claim to have a moral high... Well, they haven't got any moral high ground now, because clearly what Derby County is saying to us is that they care more about saving a pretty penny on a bloke who has been a tremendous servant for the club and essentially kicking him while he's down. They've got no morals or principles. You've got these 2 lads that are allowed to run out on the pitch for you. You're about to invite prolific booze hound Wayne Rooney into your squad as a coach, for goodness sake, as well as a player. I mean, what's he coaching them? Right, lads, so if you just have another pint, that's great. Well, is that what he's saying? Is that what it is for him? The guy who goes to a casino and blows £500,000 quid in a night.
I know you keep linking Wayne Rooney into this. I don't see the link. I don't. I think, but this is it as well. I think the moment that you leave a club. So look, let's say they do sack the other 2. They're not going to, because they're worth far too much money. This is business.
But my point is this, that Derby made a rod for their own back, right? Because Wayne Rooney will do something. Something will happen, right? And by the way, I'm not massively digging him out here because he is who he is and whatever, fine. But the second that he does something, now you've set a precedent here, which is that your captain, who's played 350 games for you, didn't put his seatbelt on and you've sacked him. Well, goodness me, how many players are you going to have left in a couple of years' time?
Yeah.
Really? If you apply that letter of the law.
That's it. I think, by the way, how would you feel? I don't know which one of the players it was. I don't know if it was Tom Lawrence or not who was driving, but whoever was driving Richard Keogh, the moment, how must they feel as well, by the way? And I know, Look, the fact that it must be that feeling of, or I would assume it's that feeling of guilt. The fact that they've got away with it, okay, 6 weeks, fine, it's done. But they've effectively got away with this, completely got away with this. And it's just, I don't know, for me, it's just not fair. And it comes back to, if Richie Keogh is 22 years old now and it was a 6-month injury, there's nothing said. It's the fact that it's purely that, and that's what disgusts me. He's been at the club 7 years. It'll be all the stuff that leads on after this. Do you know what? And I hate to say this kind of stuff, but if he doesn't get a positive outcome in court, then where does his life go as well? Like making a mistake, which is a small mistake. I don't care what anyone says. He didn't put his seatbelt on. That was it. He didn't put his seatbelt on, and ultimately,
I don't know, mate. Getting into a car with people that you know are battered.
But that's the thing; they're more guilty than him.
They are.
They left him at the. By the way, they left him at the scene.
He was unconscious and they
he was
legged it.
unconscious, and they legged it. Like, come on.
Yeah, I get all that, man.
Look, he's not like whiter than white. I get that. He's not whiter than white. But imagine if he doesn't get anything in the settlement. Imagine that they come down and say, actually, according to the letter of the law, according to the letter of your contract, and you're right, you can't go skiing, you can't do it. Do you know what? When Carlo Cudicini rode his motorbike and fractured his pelvis and was out for 12 months, which he shouldn't have been doing because you can't ride a motorbike, that's another one, the club stuck by him. And he ended up getting himself fit and played a little bit more for the club. They stuck by him. They didn't need to. They could have sacked him. They didn't. And he was a similar age. He didn't really have much of a career left, but I think it was Chelsea at the time, if I remember rightly, or was it Spurs? One of the two. But anyway, they did good by him. I just think from Derby's point of view, this is dreadful. And from a human aspect, imagine he doesn't get the result in court that I think he should get. Like, it'd be really interesting mentally how he deals with that.
If tell you what, if I was a Derby County footballer or member of staff now, I would be absolutely bricking it because this guy will know a lot of stuff behind the scenes. I don't mean this because all footballers are reprobates. You're all doing this and that, but you're all reprobates and you all do a load of stuff like this. No, but seriously, like he's going to know where the bodies are buried at that football club. He's been there 7 years. He'll have seen it all come and go. We live in a very woke age now where anything can be interpreted as bullying or as racism or as homophobia or as all this kind of stuff. And I reckon he is going to go down swinging here. And I would if I was him.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it plays out. Mentioned he is going to appeal this, so no doubt we'll have more news in the coming days. I did want to talk to you about Granit Xhaka as well, but I think we'll save that for later in the hour because we have got Nick Easter, former England number 8, played at 3 World Cups, including 2007. He'll be on next.
Love sport. The cost of car, van or motorbike insurance can put people off driving completely, but you don't have to pay massive premiums to protect your vehicle from theft or damage. Price comparison site aspokesmansaid.com can get a great deal for you.
Aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money. Can you save money on your car insurance? Chris did with a little help from aspokesmansaid.com. Getting real people, real savings.
I'm Chris from Leicestershire, a truck driver. I went on a spokesman set, which was very straightforward and easy to use for an old git like myself, and saved over £300 on my car insurance.
Find quotes from over 100 leading insurance providers at aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
As a busy mum, you're juggling loads of things. And when your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics to help them get better. For things like sore throats, coughs and colds, you can get advice from your local pharmacy. And you don't need an appointment. To find your nearest pharmacy, search NHS Choices.
Exercise. It doesn't have to mean Lycra or a fancy gym membership. All you need is 10 minutes and you. Because a regular 10-minute brisk walk is a great way to get more active. Whether that's walking to the shops or getting off the bus to stop early. Picking up the pace and getting your heart pumping can make a real difference to your health. So, to see how much brisk walking you're doing and how you can fit more into your day, download the free Active 10 app, because there's only one you.
I love my brother. We do fun things like playing together. I like having hugs with Freddie. Freddie gives the best hugs. Freddie used to be very poorly, and the doctor said he might need a new liver. Then one day, a very nice person gave their liver to Freddie. It was amazing. We were so happy. Now he's around to give me more hugs than ever.
Tell your family you want to save lives. To find out more, visit organdonation.nhs.uk.
Love sport.
Love for breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you until 10 a.m. Granit Xhaka, he came out with an apology of sorts.
Well, no, this was the type of apology, right? Without being too specific, just run me through some of the worst apologies you've ever made in your life.
I mean, I wouldn't say the worst apologies, but, you know, a classic one will be, I'm sorry, Patrick, that you're not quite you don't have the sense of humour that understands my jokes.
Yes, that's it. That's a good one. That is good textbook stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I gave the example before as well. One of my exes where, I just made it abundantly clear to her that if she hadn't been the way she was, I wouldn't have had to have cheated on her.
Right, yes.
There's that kind of stuff. And Granny Jack has done a similar thing.
Should we read it out? Let's do
go
it. After taking some time to reflect on what happened on Sunday afternoon, I'd like to give you an explanation rather than just a quick response. The scenes that took place around my substitution have moved me deeply. I love this club and always give 100% on and off the pitch. My feeling is not being understood by fans, and repeated abusive comments at matches and in social media over the last few weeks and months have hurt me deeply. People have said things like, "We will break your legs, kill your wife, and wish that your daughter gets cancer." That has stirred me up, and I reached boiling point when I felt the rejection in the stadium on Sunday. In this situation, I let myself be carried away and reached in a way that disrespected the group of fans that support our club, our team, and myself with positive energy. That has not been my intention, and I'm sorry if that's what people thought. My wish is that we get back to the place of mutual respect, remembering why we fell in love with this game in the first place. Let's move forward positively together.
So if all of these things have been said to him on social media for a period of time, why is he still on social media?
Yeah, I just
out of interest. Why? Why not just bin it off, mate? Because if I was on social media all the time, don't get me wrong, I cop a bit of flack. Like, I get it. If I go on Sky and I'm talking about politics or something like that, I've got loads of horrible stuff here that people say about me, and not all of it's from you, but most of it is. Just come off it. Just remove Twitter.
Yeah. Well, look, I've got Kieran in my ear saying he's on Instagram, I think.
Yeah.
Not on Twitter, apparently. Look,
that's all right. Whatever. Instagram. Whatever.
The point is, for me, is that these are different incidents. I would say that. Like, look, it's horrible. If those are being said, then absolutely that's not okay. The only thing I find sometimes is that, I don't know, if you're having an argument with someone, if there is an incident you need to deal with, then take that in isolation and deal with that. So the point is that he got a substitute on Sunday. He wasn't happy. He took his time getting off the pitch, which is why they started booing, according to most fans. It wasn't necessarily that he was having a stinker. Yeah. It was more the fact that he took ages to get off the pitch when you're 2-2 at home to Palace and you need to win the game. So there's a few different things. And look, the reaction wasn't okay. Now, if that's a case of, I've had it pent up for the last 2 months because of all the horrible stuff that you've done previously, which I haven't told you about, it's almost that one when you blow up.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic, mate. I have this all the time, right? I go home, okay, and all right, I haven't done the washing up, okay? I told you I would, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it because I'm working 15-hour days and I fundamentally can't be bothered, okay? That's what we pay a lady to come round and do once a week in our house. That's why I pay her, right? It's not my job. But I come round and it all of a sudden turns out it's not really about the washing up, is it? It's not about the washing up. No, it's about the socks, it's about the hoovering, and it's about the way I breathe.
Yeah.
And that's really, and it's all this built up, isn't it? Well, just tell me each of those individual things, and I can sort it.
And that's it. It's like you can't then drag up a month's worth of stuff. And I'm sure we've all experienced this in different ways, where suddenly someone will explode, and you're like, really? That annoyed you that much? And then it turns out it's several other things.
Exactly.
Right, that may have happened here. That's fine. But then exactly that. Do you know what? The moment that you've had these horrible things, horrendous things mentioned on social media, tell someone. Deal with it. Like, this isn't right. And you're right, by the way, everyone, we had Kevin Campbell on earlier, and he said he had it himself. I had it. I had some horrendous things. But that doesn't, no. I remember when I made a mistake, obviously I told you about the mistake I made, because the amount of vile abuse I got in the coming days, horrendous. Really? Yeah, horrendous.
So this is the other way around it, which is that do exactly what you just said there, which is essentially don't let it build up. The other thing is remove anonymity off Twitter, and I'm bang in favour of this. I find it so weird that we can have a forum like Twitter where you can now be in direct communication with essentially anyone in the world, and that you can be totally anonymous while you do it.
Yeah.
I think that's a shocker.
Yeah.
Because that plays right into... The only
100%.
people who need total anonymity are, like, racists, homophobes, all these kind of people, you know?
So then the counter-argument would be, if you are a star or someone in the public domain, then if you are going onto social media, this doesn't make it right, I must state that first, but it's almost a thing now where, look, you will get this, because there are people that know they can hide behind it. You will get this. And that's, look, he won't know any of these people. I'm sure he doesn't, otherwise I'm sure he would report them. He won't know them, and they'll say some vile things because there are some vile people out there.
Yeah.
So if you're on, now that has nothing to do what's happened on Sunday, as far as I'm concerned.
I really wanted him to issue an apology, which is the classic. Now, at the weekend, it may have looked as though I stormed off the pitch in anger. What actually happened was I was gesturing to the crowd to say, come on everybody, This is amazing. And then I cut my hair in the way that Freddie Mercury used to do on stage, in a way to encourage more positivity, which was all I heard. And then in order to explain why I came off the pitch, I looked at several members in the crowd and said, my foot's off. My foot's off. My foot's off. And that's because my English is so bad that it meant I just had an injured foot. And I know when you piece all of that together, we could have got the wrong end of the stick. That's all I've got to say about that.
And that's the end of that chapter. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I can't help but feel that will be Granit Xhaka done at Arsenal. And the thing is, I know that Arsenal fans aren't, they're not overly pleased with him, and I'm aware of that. But I don't think it's as bad as maybe it's been made out to be over the last few days. Look, and Arsenal fans, let me know if I'm wrong
Paul
here.
Pogba's been worse than Granit Xhaka.
Yeah, he has. And do you know what? But I suppose this is the difference in how it's dealt with. There was that time we saw Paul Pogba last season where he was actually like talking to one of the fans. He was obviously giving him a lot of stick, and he was talking directly to them. I mean, everybody deals with this kind of stuff differently. I just think that if he did want to, or he does want a future at Arsenal, it would have been a very different apology. It doesn't, for me, feel like this has anything to do with the club. You know, some people have said, is this a club-issued apology? I would say definitely not, given the nature of this. It seems very personal, the way in which it's been written. Will this help Granit Xhaka win over the Arsenal fans again? I mean, I don't think so. Look, they'll feel bad for him that he's had some horrible things said to him. That's not right. That needs to be dealt with separately. In terms of his relationship with the fans, I don't think there's enough here to say, look, I was wrong. I take responsibility that I shouldn't have come off in the manner that I did. And I should understand that, do you know what? As a player, rightly or wrongly, people are going to judge you on your performances. I always remember a game, and this is probably the lowest point in my career. We played Blackpool at home. We lost 4-3, and I was pretty poor on the day. And I remember the fans really turned on me that day. And it's a horrible, horrible feeling. But you can either then point the finger and blame all them, or you can actually take the responsibility, go home, work on what you need to work on, and try and move forward.
Do you think we're seeing the snowflake culture ingratiate itself now, work its way into actual players?
I mean, quite possibly. Do you know what? I want to talk about this in more detail, but we've got a very special guest on the line. Oh. So I want to talk to this very special guest. Nick Easter, former England number 8, played at 3 World Clubs, including 2007. He is on the line right now. Morning, Nick.
Morning.
Morning. 24 hours, just over, until the big game. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling confident. You know, it's obviously it'll be tight for long periods. You've got the two best sides really at the World Cup, the two most powerful, the two most physical sides. But from what I've seen from England and the performance last week, you know, who wouldn't be confident?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, you've been in this boat, of course. What will the England lads be doing now? What will their morning preparation be like before the game?
It won't be anything different. You know, we're creatures of habit, human beings, and professional sportsmen like their routine. Clearly, you know, this is what they've always wanted. This is the great prize that they're gunning for. And you know, ever since Eddie, you know, came in 4 years ago, let alone sort of 4 months ago when he got them together at the camp, this has been the goal. And there's a number of players there, mainly the Saracens spine, that have played in big cup finals, big semi-finals, and produced the goods. You know, the Saracens are 3 out of the last 4 European Cups they've won. They've won similarly the same in terms of the Premiership. So they're used to the big occasion, and you don't do anything differently. Why would you? It's got you this far. But of course, when you step out onto that field, there's just that little bit extra desperation and hunger there. That will make it such a cracking final, I believe.
Indeed. A lot's been made of Curry and Underhill. Curry nominated for Player of the Year. How have they transformed this Eddie Jones side?
Massively, big time. England have, we've always produced a big pack. We've always produced, you know, a good kicking game. Where we've come undone in terms of actually trying to, you know, become number 1 in the world when we haven't made it. Clearly, the 2003 side did. Is finding players, specialists at the breakdown. And these 2 guys have been massive finds in the last year and a half. I mean, we remember that 2018 Six Nations, and then the 2 tests in South Africa, and we lost 5 in a row. Everyone was thinking, right, it's the end of Eddie Jones's era. But finding those 2 guys, coupled with the return of Tuilagi and Billy Vunipola, who was out injured for a long time. So they've got a great balance there in terms of ball carrying and being able to win quick ball and slow down the oppositions.
Yeah, well, look, exactly, and I'm quite keen to kind of continue this Eddie Jones loving that we've been having all day here. Really, I mean, what's your take on him? Is he? I can imagine that if you're in his good books and he's picking you all the time, you love the bloke. But I can see how he might rub people up the wrong way at times.
Sorry, repeat that.
Well, just wondering what your take on Eddie Jones is. Really, is he quite a divisive character? Do you think, or is he actually just kind of quite universally loved?
Well, he's becoming loved now, isn't he? It could be Sir Eddie Jones come Sunday. The guy, I think he's been first class, been brilliant. He's always had a plan. Look, we know that he's worked the guys hard, probably, beyond their capabilities at times. And, whether that was a grand plan or not, I suppose you've got to ask him and his support staff around him. But, he's big on conditioning. He's big on, leaving no stone unturned and getting the preparation right. And sometimes, if guys come into the environment and not used to that, then, it's sort of sink or swim, if you like. But that's the way he does it. And his record at World Cups is absolutely tremendous. He's been credited massively with the 2007 win with South Africa. We know what he did with Japan, and clearly the last time England won the World Cup, the opposition was his team. He's much more suited to international rugby, I think, than club rugby. He gets the guys in, motivates them hard, trains them hard, works them hard, gives them the strategy, gives them the game plan. But in club rugby environment, it's slightly different. There's probably a little bit more. You've got to empower the players a little bit more. You've got to lay off at the right time because the season's so long and it's week in, week out. But he's definitely suited to the international stage.
You've coached in South Africa recently. Which individual should England be most wary of?
Well, I would say 9 and 10. I don't think Faf de Klerk and Andre Pollard had the greatest games last week. I think it was a very nervy, very cagey semi-final. And they didn't actually kick or manage the game that well. But if these two guys fire on the back of a forward pack that's actually been playing very, very well, and if that South African forward pack gives them go forward ball and they utilise it in the correct way, they're very, very dangerous customers, not only individually but also with getting the back line moving.
Look, absolutely. Okay, so I'm quite keen to see how you would kind of. What would you say if you were there in that changing room? You've got 10 minutes to go before kick-off. What would be your kind of message to these England boys?
I don't think you need. There's not much. I think all the messaging we said before. It might be one or two tactical things. I think enjoy it as well, and that's been a big thing that's come out of the group, isn't it? In terms of you've got to enjoy this experience, enjoy the week, enjoy the build-up. Famously, Martin Johnson. A number of the after-dinner stories about Martin Johnson when he turned around in the tunnel, and he usually probably says a few expletives or maybe one last sort of bit of tactical information before they go out. Just turned around, didn't say anything, and looked back because ultimately the guys are ready. They've got this far. They're playing so well. Everyone knows their individual roles within the team. And they've got full trust in them being able to do it.
Yeah, we've had Phil Vickery on. He's quite obviously wears his heart on his sleeve a lot. He's quite an emotional guy, and he's certainly more in the camp of the people that would say quite a few words and try and rally the troops, the Churchill approach, as it were. Are you more personally a little bit more reserved, a little bit more? I don't want to use the word focus because people focus in different ways, but do you know what I mean? Are you a bit more kind of mentally compact in that sense? You just want to get out and get the job done.
Yes, exactly. As I say, the preparation's done, especially at the highest level here. And, if you need to be sort of reeling off a load of words and, not shouting from the rooftops, if you like, but sort of like trying to motivate the troops, especially in the World Cup final, then, clearly the team hasn't prepared correctly. Now, I know certain people, that's the way they personally like to get up for games, and that's absolutely fine. But from my point of view, it's like, right, let's get out there. Do the job. This is what you're lucky enough to get paid and play something you really love and enjoy. Make sure you fully embrace it because it goes very, very quickly.
Joe Marler plays for your old club Harlequins. Just give us a flavour of what type of a character Joe Marler is.
Oh yeah, Joe. He's a fun character. He's sort of like makes sure that he can lighten the mood at the right time and everything. But he's also a very driven and focused guy. He knows when to be serious and when to flick that switch.
Yeah, great stuff. And before we let you go, we've got to get a prediction for the game itself.
I think England by 12 points.
Really? Wow, reasonably confident. You don't think it'll be a tight, tense affair, no?
I think it'll be tight, but I can see us. I think we're the best conditioned side in the World Cup, and we've got a hell of a bench as well. And I just can see us stretching away. And I think the best thing for the final as well, because lots of people said about South Africa's style, is if England score a try early, it forces South Africa to play, and then we could be in for a real thriller.
Fantastic, Nick. Really appreciate you coming on.
No problem. Thanks very
Great
much.
stuff. Nick Easter, former England number 8, played at 3 World Cups, including 2007, with his thoughts. We've had some interesting comments, actually, in from Chris Brown. I'm going to read them out in regards to Xhaka, so we'll read them out after our
Chris
short...
Brown, eh?
I know.
Fantastic. We've got Jason Derulo up next. That's really good. Looking forward to that.
13 minutes to 9.
Giving your team the coverage they deserve. Love Sport Radio.
Full of skill, full of flair, full of desire. Fulham FC is full of fire.
Oh, what a goal!
Be there at Craven Cottage as Fulham continue their surge towards the top of the Sky Bet Championship. Watch the unmissable action live in SW6, home of London's original football club.
Absolutely brilliant.
Grab your tickets now at fulhamfc.com.
When looking for the best possible deal for his car insurance, Jim went on a spokesmansaid.com and saved hundreds.
I'm Jim. I'm a radio presenter based in Glasgow. I couldn't believe how expensive the car insurance for our Citroen C4 Picasso was going to be from my existing insurer. I went on a Spokesman Said and saved an incredible £600. Just amazing.
Find quotes from over 100 leading insurance providers at a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
This is Love Sport.
Last Ball Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys. We were talking about Granit Xhaka. I had some interesting comments in. Thanks as always. You can get in touch. 0208 70 20 558 at Love Sport Radio on the socials, or we are on YouTube. Chris Brown's been in touch. Don't you think Xhaka's actions were acceptable if some of the crowd have said what he claims? I say this because of how racism is being dealt with these days with walking off, which I agree with. Because it's all well and good being thick-skinned, but if someone from the crowd was saying something racist, we'd all say they're in the right to walk off and act how Xhaka did. Yet if it was someone yelling, saying that they would kill his wife, we need to do something about that. I mean, I agree. From what I understand, they weren't yelling it, though. That's the point. From what I understand, what Granit Xhaka said is that these are the comments on social media. So my point is, look, I'm not saying these comments are right. Far from it. These comments are horrendous and need to be dealt with, but they're dealt with in isolation. This is a completely different incident. My only issue with this is that he's brought this into this. And I just feel, like, let's say, for instance, a player was going to go out this weekend and they've had all sorts of horrendous abuse. So they're already almost premeditating or pre-planning. They're going to go out and make a scene because of something that's happened previously. For me, that's not okay. Deal with what's going on right now. If you're receiving stuff on social media, deal with it. It just seems a bit, why bring it up now? Deal with what's going on.
I think with social media,
it's a great
as well,
point, by the way, Chris. Really appreciate you writing.
Yeah, cheers, Chris. But I think the point with social media, from where I stand anyway, is that I could understand it if you were a social media influencer and your source of income came through posting various things. You can't just realistically mute your social media then, because you basically rendered yourself unemployed. Granit Xhaka, I'm not sure exactly what he's on per week at Arsenal, but he's not going to be poor, is he? Does not need Instagram. He doesn't need to go, just mute it, just switch it off.
So the question is then, if you are a professional footballer and you want to join social media, should it almost be given with a warning that you're going to have imbeciles out there that are going to send you horrendous abuse because they've got very little else going on in their life, the little keyboard warriors who nobody knows and no one will ever know, that can send you horrendous abuse, the worst things you could possibly write, because for whatever reason with social media there's no accountability. Is it almost a warning you need to give footballers now?
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think that if you're choosing between two different footballers and they maybe have quite similar abilities, I would say that you should go for the one with the lowest social media profile or the lowest social media activity. Because I think that indicates a lot about their character. But people are different. So, like, I know people like a Piers Morgan, for example, doesn't care what you say to him on social media. Not that you should go and say hello to Piers Morgan on social media. It's not a green light, but he doesn't really care. Whereas some people do. Granit Xhaka clearly does.
Yeah.
And if you are one of those people, then you should get off it. If you can't take it, you are going to get it, so you might as well leave.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? Here's another one I'll throw at you. And this is why I think that, this is why I have my point on this, and I go back to being separate. What happens if, I don't know, a player this weekend, let's say that Daniel James goes out and 2-foot someone knee high, breaks their legs, and then comes out and says, I'm sorry, I just had so much anger because someone last week on social media made some horrible comments about me. Do you know what I mean? This is it. They're two separate instances. If he goes out and does that, then no, we deal with that in isolation. The fact that you've had a bad week and people have been horrendous to you, that's not okay. But that doesn't mean you can then go and do something. Now, look, this is different in that, of course, he hasn't done anything like that. But what his reaction has been taken to really badly by Arsenal fans. Look, they're not happy with performances, and they've got the right not to be happy. Like I mentioned, when I had a bad time and I had a few really, really poor performances, they let me know. But that was okay. It wasn't abusive in terms of them. They were booing me or whatever at the time. It was horrible when your own fans boo you, of course. But they have the right to do that. They're frustrated, as I was frustrated that I wasn't performing to the ability I thought I could. But I didn't go off shouting and screaming at them and being like, well, because do you know what? You love me when I do well, so therefore you can give me a bit of criticism when I'm not doing well, in my opinion.
Is this not a touch of the royal families about it? Again, you know, oh, someone's been very mean to me and I don't like it, and now I'm going to tell you all to F off and storm off. And it's like, well, you're sorry, but I mean, I'll be honest with you. I know it's easier said than done, but I'm confident in saying that I'm right in this, which is that if you offered me £150,000 a week and made me get, 50,000 tweets a day calling me every name under the sun, I'd rip your arm off. I'd absolutely rip your arm off.
Well, and the point is that 95% of what you receive, probably 98% of what you receive, is very positive. It's adulation.
But
You
also
are
the
a
others
hero.
are very sad little people. When I go on Sky News and say something that people deem controversial and they get at me on Twitter, I'm like, best one in the world, mate. Why are you watching Sky News, at that time at 1:30 in an afternoon, relentlessly live tweeting what I'm doing? You haven't got a lot on, mate.
Yeah.
I don't care about you.
It's an interesting point. Kieran has come to join us.
I have indeed. I just want to sum up the England cricket team because, of course, they have been playing overnight in New Zealand. And we quite fancy ourselves against that country recently because we've only gone and beaten them again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so beat him in the Cricket World Cup final, beat him in the Rugby World Cup semi-final.
Yeah.
And now under Chris Silverwood, his first game in charge, of course, England produced a good performance, I'd say, a pretty accomplished performance against New Zealand, who, obviously got to the World Cup final. So in limited overs cricket, they are a force to be reckoned with, especially in their home conditions. And it was a fairly two-pace pitch out in Christchurch overnight. And we won the toss and bowled first. And the debutantes of Sam Curran and Pat Brown got some praise from Owen Morgan, the England captain, who, by the way, is still considering his future as England captain. He's going to wait now until after the T20 World Cup. So he's going to try and get a clean sweep, essentially, of being the best T20 side as well as the best 50-over side, which would be an incredible legacy to leave. So he's guiding this new-look England team into this series and a very positive performance. So New Zealand finished on 153 for 5. Ross Taylor, again, their experienced head. Of course, Kane Williamson out of this series, top scored with 44 off 35 deliveries. The standout bowler, perhaps Chris Jordan, with 2 for 28 off his 4. No bowler went for more than 33, though, off their 4 overs, which showed the consistency in the bowling performance. And England responded with an accomplished reply knocking it off with 9 balls to spare. James Vince, who of course got heavy criticism during the World Cup for his inconsistent and under par performances, top scored with a half century, 59 off 38, 7 fours and 2 sixes. All 3 wickets fell to the left arm spinner Mitch Santner, but Owen Morgan finished it off in style with a 6 to win the match, which was also a lovely way to finish a cricket match, I feel.
Oh, yeah.
Finished it off with aplomb. Sam Billings, the vice-captain, there with him at the end. Then positive signs for this England side.
It certainly sounds that way. Very positive indeed. What's the future now? What's the next fixtures coming up?
We've got a T20 game on Sunday, so I'm sure I'll be reporting on that come Monday. And then, I think we're heading towards a test series then in the middle of November, which will obviously be Chris Silverwood's big test, because this is why we've kind of brought Chris Silverwood in, is to transform our white clothed red ball cricket.
Indeed. Fantastic, Mr. Kieran Wellington. Do you know what's happening in a few minutes' time, Patrick?
Is it global warming?
I mean, it probably is, but that wasn't where I was going.
Okay, go on.
Wales, New Zealand.
Right.
3 minutes away.
This is Love Sport.
This is Lionel, another very happy person who saved themselves money at a spokesmansaid.com.
Hi, I'm Lionel from Peacehaven. I took note of what the spokesman said and I saved £484 per year on my energy, and I recommend everybody does the same.
A spokesmansaid.com. Getting real people, real savings. Compare, switch and save with a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Driving too close to the car in front gives you less time to react. You may not realise that you're tailgating. Leave a 2-second gap between you and the vehicle in front. When it's wet, leave a 4-second gap. By staying back, you give yourself time to react. Stay safe. Stay back. Highways England, connecting the country.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search One You.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work that way. Even a quick look at a message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
This is Love Sport Breakfast with me, Patrick Christys, and Richard Lee. The Welsh lads are out there now. They've just sung the national anthems, and they've all got very emotional as they take on New Zealand. They prepare to face up to this iconic haka. They're all lining up there, and there are actually some tears, although I'm not sure that's because of the haka or indeed the national anthem. I think they're just gutted they're not playing the mighty, mighty England in the Rugby World Cup final. Stay with us here on Love Sport. We've got loads coming your way, including former Manchester United striker Daniel Nardiello. But right now, though, it's time for the news.
On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport News.
From the Sky News Centre at 9, breaking news. A report into the London Bridge terror attacks says MI5 needs to improve systems into investigating potential terrorists. 8 people were killed and almost 50 badly injured when 3 men went on a van and knife attack in June 2017. The chief coroner says more robust measures are needed to determine attack sites. PC Ian Ray was among officers who stopped the men who were wearing fake suicide belts.
I had to make a split-second decision. If I don't go over and do something, then there's going to be a lot more lives lost. And as I got over there to handcuff that person to prevent him from detonating what he had, I was shouted at by firearms officers. They've told me to get out of there, and I've taken their advice.
Donald Trump's made a shock intervention in the UK's general election before campaigning's even officially begun. He's urged Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage to team up and become an unstoppable force, claiming it would be a great thing. The US president also said Jeremy Corbyn would be so bad for the country. But the Labour leader fears America wants to profit from post-Brexit deals with the NHS under Boris Johnson. This is what he told supporters at a rally yesterday.
We will stop them. Labour won't let Donald Trump get his hands on our National Health Service.
A man's been arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving following a crash in southeast London. One person died and 15 others were injured in the collision involving 2 buses and a car in Orpington last night. Whirlpool's been accused of trying to silence customers with faulty tumble dryers and being too slow to rectify safety flaws. The company says it welcomes the report from the Business Committee and is working on improvements. And in sport, Warren Gatland's last rugby union game in charge of Wales is getting underway. He'll step down as head coach following their third-place playoff with New Zealand at the World Cup in Japan. England take on South Africa at the weekend. That's the latest. I'm Kit Bradshaw.
This is Love Sport.
Welcome back, Mr. Jones. How was your Touareg 48-hour test drive? Mr. Jones, I said, how was the test drive?
Fantastic, thank you.
What did you make of the Touareg's touchscreen Innovision cockpit?
Brilliant.
And the climate control massage seats?
Oh, marvellous.
How about the night vision camera?
Absolutely exceptional.
That's great. So, are you going to unlock the door?
No.
The Volkswagen Touareg 48-hour test drive. The hardest part will be giving it back.
Come on, Mr. Jones, open up.
Can't hear you.
Participating retailers only, subject to status, vehicle availability and retailer T&Cs. And 17th of December 2019.
Love Sport Radio. On digital radio, online, mobile and smart speaker. This is Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
Love Sport Breakfast, Love Sport Radio, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys here with you for another hour or so. Let's touch on those top stories. The Rugby World Cup final is now just 24 hours away. Granit Xhaka has released a statement via our Arsenal Twitter account. We've got more details on the Richard Keogh sacking, which we will reveal. James Vince and Davy Bowler's star as England comfortably beat New Zealand in Chris Silverwood's first game in charge. Wales captain Alan Wynne-Jones prepares for last ever World Cup game, which has just kicked off.
It's off-putting, isn't it?
It really
is. When someone does
really
the hacker
is.
at you.
When you're trying to do the headlines,
When
it's
you're trying to do
incredibly
your job,
off-putting.
when you're just there trying to do your job,
Yeah.
and someone starts doing the hacker at you,
I know.
it is off-putting, isn't it?
Especially when you're doing a radio show. Tom Curry nominated for World Rugby Player of the Year, and also Shearer to team up with Owen for Amazon Prime's Premier League coverage.
The least inspiring double act. Wales, by the way, have broken through earlier against the All Blacks.
Oh, they have indeed. I am joined, me, Richard Lee, with Patrick Christys, just to round off the Xhaka stuff, which we have spoke about a lot today. Granit Xhaka. Say Chris Brown has been in touch. He did say in his statement, he writes repeated abusive comments in matches and social media. So it could be the matches. And by the way, you're right. If it is the matches, you're right. Then that for me is I think if it's social media, that I'd see it as separate. If it's matches there in that moment, then that would be different. And you're right. That would then be, look, we talk about abuse and what constitutes okay and what isn't okay. Where is the line? And we know that any racist behaviour is way beyond the line. Similarly, the comments that have been named, if they're being made in the stands, again, that comfortably crosses the line. And thanks for a nice comment. He says, yeah, he enjoys the breakfast show. So there you go. We've got one.
Oh, there we go.
We've got one.
Fantastic.
We have made it. That is us for the day.
Right, I'll call it now, lads. I'll call it. Just before we get stuck into the sport, I just want to make a very quick, don't worry, producer Kieran, a very quick point about a bit of breaking news that is coming to us from Sky News.
Okay.
And it is in relation to a coroner's inquest about the London Bridge terror attack. Now, MI5 have been told by the coroner that they need to improve systems for ongoing investigations into terrorist suspects. Now, I just want to make the point very quickly that actually MI5 keep us safe every single day. We cannot, and it's right that we do not, by the way, have any idea of exactly how threatened we are on a daily basis. And we have no idea how many times that this lot save lives. We only ever hear about them when something slips through the net. And even then, frankly, it often could be a lot worse than what the inevitable actually happens, which, of course, is no sympathy to anyone who has suffered as a victim of a terror attack. all their relatives, and I'm not trying to diminish that. But what I am saying is it doesn't sit well with me when you have a coroner sat there telling MI5 how they need to operate. I think that they do a mighty fine job for this country, and it pains me when they get criticised. But that's that. Sorry, let's do sport.
Point well made, Mr. Christys. Of course, this game has got underway, so New Zealand taking on Wales. Now that England have done the V to the hacker, I do wonder whether we'll start to see like a few inventive ones. I was thinking about this.
Okay.
You know, like obviously letters are the obvious thing that you could do, but do teams now start to take a bit? By the way, Wales just went for the classic. Everyone linked arms. They stood at the halfway line, very respectful, and allowed to do New Zealand to do what they do. But do teams start to get a little bit inventive now?
Yeah, I think like maybe go for like a travelling circus theme. So as they're doing that, you could have someone on someone's shoulders juggling.
Yes.
You could have someone coming in on stilts. You know what I mean? Maybe like a trapeze artist, something like that, just to really, really take it back to them, you know?
Yeah, indeed. Let's hear from Eddie Jones. He says the tournament deserves a good final.
At the end of the day, I love the game. I love to see the game played well. We've been playing some good rugby at this tournament, but we want to finish off the tournament well. You know, the tournament deserves a good final. We want to play some good rugby.
The tournament does deserve a good final. It's been a really, really...
That's a little subtle dig, you know, isn't it?
What do you mean?
South
the fact
Africa
that they played pretty boring
playing
rugby.
boring rugby. Because do you remember that iconic newspaper back page that I think was just before we won 2003? Hands up if we're boring.
Yeah.
Hands up if we're boring. And it was all the England players there celebrating a win. And it was because we did play a slightly more drab brand of rugby. Well, we're exciting now. And it's the same, similar in the football, by the way, and in the cricket. We're exciting to watch now. England has become sexy. Whereas you look at the South Africans, and I mean, I'm not going to comment on how sexy they are, but they're not a particularly exciting rugby playing
Do you think
nation.
that's what it was? Do you think that was a subtle dig?
I think it was a subtle dig.
Okay.
The tournament deserves a good final, by the way. New Zealand
have
opened their account with a try after 5 minutes.
5 minutes in, breakaway there. We will find out who scored and let you know. Near enough under the post as well. So
hang on a minute. We can just go to our American commentator now. I'm going to cross over to the American commentator. Touchdown! Touchdown, All Blacks! They got into the offense and they touched it down in the D.
Okay, Joe Moody with the try, not the touchdown, and it's a breakaway from New Zealand. An early lead, which not good news for Wales.
No, but it rarely is.
No, very true. Right, so you think that was a subtle dig from Eddie Jones when he said that it deserves a good final. Look, what I would say on the tournament, it has been a fantastic tournament. Look, I know Super Typhoon aside, which wasn't necessarily the tournament's fault.
We had a minor issue with a Super Typhoon.
No,
but apart from that,
I mean that can't be helped. That's no one's fault necessarily.
No, it's not.
Apart from the organisers for having it during a season.
In a way, we're all to blame, mate. In a way,
go on,
because of the changing climate,
the butterfly effect.
And that's,
the changing climate.
You did that. I did that. Producer Kieran did that. We all have an element of responsibility for Super Typhoon Hagibis.
Okay, there you go. I'm happy to take my share of responsibility for that. That aside, it has been a fantastic tournament.
Yes.
And that had nothing to do with the organisers. The organisers probably did for them organising when it was. But in terms of how it's been played, Japan hosting it in such a fantastic way.
Yeah, look, the whole thing's been magnificent. And I think it's been a bit of a lesson, actually, in how to host and organise a major international tournament. You know, Vladimir Putin at the Football World Cup had to literally bring in the Cossacks at one point to keep the peace. There's not been a sniff of Cossack so far in this World Cup in Japan. We've not had any Cossacks. You know, when we look at what's going to happen in Qatar over there, you know, they've got the secret military police that are going to be doing their best to round up anyone with a rainbow flag and behead them within seconds. There's not been a sniff of a beheading at this particular tournament.
No.
It's been lovely, hasn't it?
It has. Makes a nice change. Sam Underhill said the final will be more than just a physical battle.
I don't think there's a non-physical test match that's played now. So I think on top of that, the thing to bring is accuracy and control. So it's all very well and good turning up and being aggressive, but the key is to be in control of that and still be able to do what you want in the game outside of just being physical.
This is it. Cool head is what you need.
That's the one. Yeah. Look, it's going to be interesting to... Oh, that's bad. Oh, and that's a bad miss from Wales. But no, it's going to be interesting to see how England approach this game. You just have a sense that this side, if they were going to flap, it would have happened. If they're going to flap, it would have been facing up to that all-black hacker, coming up against what is probably the best team in the world, apart from England, of course. We would have crumbled. I just don't see it all going to pot in this final.
With this game that's going on now, we just watched a couple of sloppy mistakes from Wales early on. New Zealand are 7-0 ahead. The conversion was good. Do you worry a little bit for Wales in this, that you've kind of awoken the beast?
Potentially. I just think it's a very weird game to play in because in rugby it is all or nothing. It's arguably the most physical competition that you can ever go up against, and it must be a little bit tricky going into a 3rd and 4th place playoff because what's there to really get up for? A bit of pride, obviously, and things, but it's not the same, is it? And if you approach a game like this, half baked, and you are going to get knackered.
Some of the comments from Warren Gatland this week as well kind of make you think that they don't want to be there. He's even said that actually rather than have a 3rd, 4th place playoff, or play for bronze, that they should just go and have a drinking contest effectively, which I guess if your manager, your coach is saying that, then are you going to take it that seriously?
I'll be honest with you, mate, I'd watch the living heck out of that.
Yeah, you would.
I would watch that on repeat over and over again. That is better than watching Michael Owen and Alan Shearer verbally joust on Amazon Prime.
We've got some of Michael Owen and Alan Shearer's best quotes. We'll talk about them in a short while. Warren Gatland did say, though, that they are still fired up.
We've got a game and you put the disappointment behind it, but then you think about the chance of playing against the All Blacks and that kind of gets you excited and we want to go out there and be positive in the way we play. I think the All Blacks will do exactly the same.
Warren Gatland there. Well, so far it has to be said that New Zealand have had the better of the opening stages here. We're only 8 minutes in. New Zealand are 7-0 up as it stands, although Wales are on the attack now, and a good move here. Oh, in fact, a very good move. Oh, just short of the 22.
Wales are coming out wide there at the minute, and they're doing all right. They made a couple of good breaks. It could be a closer game than you think, this.
Indeed. Well, look, we've got a big hour coming up. We're going to be speaking to Daniel Nardiello, former Man United striker. We've also got Ben Dinnery, our injury analyst. Will be going through the injuries because, of course, this weekend we do have a full list of Premier League fixtures. He'll be giving us the latest on that. The time is 13 minutes past 9.
Love sport.
It's cancer, they said. My first thought, let's just say it wasn't money, but time off work for treatment and trips to the hospital, paying the mortgage, and the cost of living doesn't go away just because you're living with cancer, and Macmillan can help with that too. My advice? Take their advice, soon as I did.
Macmillan, right there with you. Call now or search Macmillan Money Worries.
AsSpokesmanSaid.com is a leading price comparison website that allows you to compare every energy tariff on the market in seconds. We have more deals than any other comparison website offering energy prices, and our impartial independent switching service is free of charge. Nearly 50% of UK households have switched bills, and there are hundreds to be saved. Visit AsSpokesmanSaid.com, as recommended in The Guardian, The Times and The Sun. AsSpokesmanSaid.com.
As a parent, you always want to protect your kids, so make sure their vaccinations are up to date. Measles and whooping cough are on the rise and can cause severe illness, but childhood vaccinations can help prevent them. Are your child's up to date? Find out more. Search online for NHS vaccinations.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident and save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
Love sport.
Love Sport Breakfast, me, Richard Lee, Patrick Christys, and now joined, of course. In fact, has he been in the studio yet today? I don't think he has.
Yeah, no, he has.
Well, I did. Sorry,
Wandered
briefly.
in,
Yeah,
brought the coffees in.
That's true. That is true. It is, of course, Kieran
Is
Wellington.
that all I'm good for, Patrick?
No, you've got loads more talent.
This is true. Something
Not necessarily broadcast media based.
Something I want to touch on is Dream Team. Michael Owen and Alan Shearer due to be front-running Amazon Prime.
It's tired, it's stale, it's a couple of old has-beens that aren't very good at punditry now teaming up to form the least inspiring double act that I have ever seen since Sutty and Sweep.
Okay, we've got a couple of classic quotes from Michael Owen. Should we run through a few of them?
Yeah, go on, mate.
Yes,
just,
please.
just change my mind about him, will you?
Okay, sure. So this was when Liverpool were launching a counter-attack against Arsenal. The quote was, "They're out-swarming them." I mean, it's an interesting word.
I mean, he's up for the next Attenborough documentary, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, and look at there as the cheetahs out-swarm the buffalo.
We've got another couple of classics here. To stay in the game, you have to stay in the game. That would have been in goal had it gone inside the post.
That's the one for me.
Yeah.
That's the one that really makes it absolutely farcical that he's got a career in talking.
Got a couple of other interesting ones here. What a feeling it is to be a manager and bring someone on.
Do you reckon because he's big into his horses, isn't he? Do you reckon when he's just looking at which one to buy, he's like, well, I think this one's got a chance. It's got 4 legs. Do you know what I mean?
Well, this is along those lines. It's a nightmare for strikers when defences push up. You've got to go with them or you're offside. It's a good run, but it's a poor run, if you know what I mean.
I don't know what you mean, mate. I've got no idea what you mean.
I kind of know what he means. Let's have a look. That's as simple as simple. I mean, there's some
Is that
classics.
a thing? Seriously, mate?
What?
Do
These
you
are
reckon
these
he
are
does
classic.
it deliberately? Do you reckon he does it deliberately, where he basically just goes, right, I'll start and finish a sentence with exactly the same words?
I mean, you have to believe your own eyes, don't you? I mean, there's some great ones here. I mean, there's so many, and they just continue, pages and pages.
New Zealand, by the way, have just scored their second try of the game. They're at risk of running riot here against Wales.
England have angered the beast, I feel, here.
Talking of the beast,
Kieran!
Oh, I've never been called that before, so thank you. But,
welcome.
Bowden Barrett scored that second New Zealand try, so no, not looking good for Wales so far. Just want to go on Alan Shearer's quote.
Oh, good.
Yep.
The pass for Wright Phillips was overweight. I think that's my favourite one.
Yeah.
Football's not just about scoring goals, it's about winning.
That's classic. Classic.
I mean, that's how you win a football match,
From
Alan.
one of the most selfish strikers in the world as well. I mean, that's a little bit rich.
Well, exactly, yeah. But it's going to make for some interesting viewing on Amazon Prime. Perhaps I'll just tune in for the 90 minutes of the football and forget about
The context here, of
punditry.
course, is that Owen and Shearer both fell out, didn't they, quite spectacularly about Michael Owen's book. Yeah.
Incredibly.
So I imagine that's going to get dug up.
We were talking about Twitter earlier and how, players have to deal with the kind of heinous online abuse that they have to kind of endure. But, I mean, Twitter's great for stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Twitter's definitely got... Twitter came out with the best stat that I think I've ever seen the other day, which is that this is going to be the first general election since 1984 that Chelsea haven't been top of the league. Yeah. That is That is what Twitter's all about. That's Twitter.
That's a stat, yeah.
I just want to move back to the rugby, if that's all right, because, there is a Rugby World Cup final going on tomorrow. And I want to focus on the winger, Anthony Watson. He broke down in tears at the end of the game against the All Blacks because he's had a nightmare with his injury problems. And there was a period in his career when he was going through his Achilles recovery that he never thought he'd be able to run quickly again. He was sidelined for 13 months. And basically, he said, this time last year, I couldn't lift my heel off the floor. I could barely walk without a limp. I was very appreciative for the moment I had there. So he's talking about the New Zealand semi-final. Obviously, he's come back. He's looking at the top of his game. He's got that electric pace back. He said there were 2 or 3 days in particular where I was very dark, considering whether I'd ever again be able to run at the same speed, change direction and stuff like that. Those days were very tough. I was lucky to have a very strong support group of friends and family. I'm appreciative of the position we're in this week, but it won't make sense unless we win, which is obviously the line that's constantly coming out from these England rugby players, which is fantastic, and they do seem to have a real good focus about them. But we often forget how injuries can scupper careers and stuff like this, and we have an expert on that in the studio, actually, Patrick.
We do, yeah. My career was tragically cut short, actually, with a dodgy knee. I got it, played five-a-side. I was 10 years old at the time. It looked like I was going to go on for greatness. And
not who I meant, Patrick.
Oh.
We have a pro footballer that might have suffered a few injuries in his time.
Oh, this is awkward now, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry, mate.
What you could have been as well.
What I could have been.
I mean, biomechanically, you are sound.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah. More than happy to talk to you about injuries.
But 13 months out, to come back and now to be in a World Cup final in the starting 15.
What a story.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Inspiring.
To think, he could barely lift his heel off. There must be days where you're going through, you want to get back to the sport you love, and you physically, you're doing everything in your power, and it's just the body's not allowing you.
Do you know, it's horrible when you get, especially when you have setbacks, and inevitably you'll always have a setback or two. And often with no rhyme or reason, you wake up one day and you can tell it's a lot worse than it was the day before, and you felt like you'd had a really good day. And I remember it was horrible. Like you then... Yeah, no, it's horrible, and especially when you've got something like that as well, where there's no guarantee that you're going to get back, and sometimes there's luck involved as to whether you do or not. And normally, when it goes over a year as well, when you're talking an injury that's a year plus, then I'd love to know what the stats are or the percentages are that players actually make a recovery from that. My guess is it's pretty small.
Santi Cazorla's a good example of it, isn't
Brilliant.
It? I mean, that guy had to
Inspiring.
have a bit of his forearm placed on his heel because he'd run out of skin. There after the amount of operations, so he's got half a tattoo on his forearm and half on his heel, which is fantastic. He went and scored for Spain, didn't he? He's been playing incredibly well, so good effort for him. Just on this England team, there are some good stories, some good little nuggets of information about some of these players, and this is courtesy of James Haskell, who's writing in the Mail today. Mako Vunipola, his nickname, Snorlax, because he's always asleep. Apparently, you've got loads of this. It's amazing how many of them are essentially addicted to coffee, they were saying, which is quite nice. You can relate to that, I'm sure, Rich. He says that there's loads of these going about. So basically, George Ford is apparently Johnny May, apologies, is apparently this creature of habit who is almost OCD with the way that he trains, the way that he prepares, times his stretches meticulously. But because of all of this, the lads like to nick his stuff and mess with his head. I quite like that.
He's my favourite. He's my favourite, Johnny May.
Yeah.
I love the way he is. Very attention to detail.
Sinclair. Apparently, there's a lovely one about Carl Sinclair saying that he's so obsessed with American football, and they said that he got told off in training because he got the ball and he broke through, as it was described, like a hippo with a smack bottom, which I love. Charles through and said that because it was training, he didn't actually put the ball down. He threw it up in the air and shouted, "Every day, baby, every day." And apparently, Eddie Jones was like, "Come on, mate, no,
That's
we don't.
not okay.
We don't do that here. Okay,
not a touchdown.
No,
not a touchdown."
Apparently, everyone just fell about laughing. He's just really into his American football.
What does he say about Anthony Watson? Because I just want to come back to Anthony Watson because
He's the fashionista of the group.
Is he now?
The fashionista of the group. I wouldn't be surprised if he's been checking out the designer shops in Tokyo with Jonathan Joseph. He's a chilled operator. He likes his fast cars, and Eddie Jones calls him the Maserati.
For Wales. Try for Wales. Sorry to interrupt you there, but that's good news. That is worth interrupting you.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
It's always worth interrupting, mate.
Really good move, actually. Really, really good move. And they broke inside, and it's Amos who has the try. In the corner will be a difficult conversion.
I suppose the thing about these bronze finals is they're a lot more entertaining to watch than most finals because there is less kind of on it, I suppose.
Not as much nervous tension.
So you get a good open game of rugby.
We're certainly getting that at the moment. It was a really nice move, this, actually. So they were kind of pressing and pressing and pressing. And in fact, we're just watching it again now. So
that's a great pass. Yeah, it was a flat pass. It kind of skipped past three Welsh players straight to the winger there who had Amos in support outside him, just dips inside.
Little fake, little dip inside. There you go.
Go on, use the phrase liquid rugby. I know you want to.
Liquid rugby.
Yeah, beautiful. But Anthony Watson, who was crying after the New Zealand victory, he actually said, I have tried lying and saying that my eye was bleeding. So this is how hard these rugby players are. They'd rather their eye was bleeding
Wow.
than to
the
see
imagery
tears.
there as well is strong, isn't it? And it's a conversion.
It is 14-7. Wales back in this game. You feel like they needed that try, otherwise New Zealand looked like they were rampant.
Now, the person leading England out onto the Yokohama field tomorrow will be Owen Farrell. And Martin Samuels has some interesting quotes about Farrell because when he's in a press conference, he's basically really dull. We've talked about Eddie Jones so much on this show and how kind of his quotes really kind of make us laugh, make us, there's always room for a comment there that it jumps off to a big talking point for us. But if I play some Owen Farrell audio to you, you'd be asleep. I'd have to go to a break.
Yeah.
So it's a mystery as to why he's such a good captain to some journalists, because they never see this inspiring side of the Saracens fly half. Now, Jamie George, who of course is also in the England side and plays for Saracens too, he has the inside track when he actually now looks forward to the captain's meeting, because Farrell makes it his own. And I like the way kind of Samuel sets this up. So he says, Owen Farrell is a mystery to those outside this England camp. He performed his public duties, as always, when England's team for the World Cup final was announced yesterday, and left his audience, as always, none the wiser about him, about the art of leadership, about the magic that quite clearly only happens behind closed doors. He talked in the blandest cliches, eschewed insight, his body language closed, his eyes wide, alert and intense, yet never making a connection. If Eddie Jones fills the rooms with his personality, Farrell clears it.
That's the line for me, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that perception, the captain who leads purely by example on the field, is plainly wrong. And basically, Jamie George has said that you can hear a pin drop at these captains' meetings when Farrell speaks. And I think someone like him just carries himself, obviously with the mutual respect that only fellow rugby players can have for each other. And this captaincy that he has really inspired these players to peak at the right time, if you like, to use another tired cliche. Jamie George says if he asks for more, we give him more. And it's that true leader, the respect that he garners from this England side. He carries them with him when they take to the field, because of course Eddie Jones can only do so much. Once they cross that white line, Eddie Jones just stands up looking nervously, in his box. He can't do a lot more. But Owen Farrell clearly takes the message out with him and does.
I think it's just
lead
the
by
fact
example.
that the body language, the aura, he just seems so calm. That's the thing. That's the leadership part for me, is that what do you want from your captain? I know we were talking earlier about the players that we align with, and for me it is those, just because of the way that I align with those sorts of players when I hear about their stories. The Johnny Wilkinson types, they're the type that I would, whereas Patrick, you're slightly different.
Yeah, 100%. No, I'm more. Yeah, I must say, obviously I never played sport at a level like this, but I always played a lot of cricket, a lot of football. Cricket was my main one, and that I used to find with that, like, I had to be very talkative when I was on the pitch, because that kept me focused. But in changing rooms before, I would very much be like kind of laughing, joking, giving off the impression, frankly, that I was winding everyone up and wasn't really that focused. But then immediately before the game, I would switch on, deliver some kind of rousing Churchillian speech, go out on the pitch, then have to come back because I've forgotten one of my pads, out again, come back again because I left my box out, things like that. But you get the picture.
Yeah, we do.
And then after the game, go to the bar.
Right, yes.
I
Kind
mean,
of similar to this radio show in many ways.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
I hope we're all at the bar tomorrow morning, by the way.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because by 11 o'clock, I'm going to have sunk. Yeah, it's going to be, the nerves are going to be.
This is the one, isn't it? Where for one day only, we're all allowed to freely admit that we're going to be absolutely off our nut by mid-morning.
Yeah.
It's great. It's totally great. But just to sum up the Owen Farrell stuff, Martin Samuel continues, around his players he can be himself. With them he's insightful and intelligent, a reader of minds and situations. And you feel like Eddie Jones, because he's king of the mind game, needs some captain that is also a deep thinker, is also an analytical person. And I think, Owen Farrell is so much more than a leader on the pitch. He's obviously got that side of him where he can close off certain parts of his personality to the public eye and open himself up and to gain the biggest respect in those kind of circles of trust that the England team obviously have. So he's a fascinating character and one, if we see him lifting the World Cup, he will go into the annals of England's sporting history. And there's a great photo on the front of the Sun's pullout this morning where you've got Martin Johnson, you've got Bobby Moore, and you've got Owen Morgan, and it just says, Owen, write yourself into history. You could be with these three guys, and their names that now will roll off the tongue. And I'm hoping by this time tomorrow, or just a couple of hours, 26 hours time, let's say, Owen Farrell will have written himself into those annals.
Yeah, I'm just kind of keen. You get a feel for what each player is going to do post World Cup success. So you've got your lot that are going to go on all the panel shows. Someone's going to go into I'm a Celeb, aren't they? Get me out of here. I reckon Joe Marler's just going to turn himself into Street Fighter.
Do you think?
Yeah, he's going to be quite gritty, handheld iPhone footage of him just offering people out outside of Wetherspoons at 3 in the morning.
Nice.
Yeah, he's going to go viral, mate. I'm telling you.
I hope you're right. Actually, no, I don't hope
No,
you're
you
right. I don't know if you're right at all. I'll take back that comment. That wasn't true. We're going to speak to Daniel Nardiello, former Man United striker, next.
This is Love Sport. Think the energy price cap will save you money? Think again. You could be saving a lot more on cheaper energy tariffs. Price comparison site A Spokesman Said will show you just how much money you could be saving against your current tariff. Don't throw away your hard-earned money to the energy companies. Check out aspokesmansaid.com and you could switch to cheaper bills in minutes.
Aspokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
Making small changes to your lifestyle could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. Start now by taking our free How Are You quiz. Just search 1U.
If you see somebody showing any of the signs of a stroke, you don't have to think about it, you just dial 999. Use the FAST test. F. Face. Has their face fallen on one side? Can they smile? A. Arms. Can they raise both arms and keep them there? S. Speech. Is their speech slurred? T. Time. Time to call 999 if you see any one of these signs. Act fast, make the call, dial 999.
Whoa! Look how much saturated fat is in these chocolate biscuits. It's surprising how much is in our food and drinks. For us kids, eating too much saturated fat can lead to harmful fat building up inside, which we can't see, increasing the risk of heart disease or stroke when we get older. So be food smart. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app and start making healthier choices today.
Brilliant, I've finally quit.
I can keep up with my kids now. I feel like I've got my life back.
It's an amazing feeling when you stop smoking. Experience it for yourself with help from Smoke Free. Our range of free support can help you quit for good, from our app to emails, face-to-face and online communities. Search Smoke Free, because there's only one you.
This is Love Sport.
Gospel Breakfast, me, Richard Lee Patrick Christys here with you until 10. Wales has scored again. It's now New Zealand 14, Wales 10. They're right back in this one. Quite an entertaining game. 27 minutes gone. We're going to turn our attention to some football. Got a very special guest on the line. Daniel Nardiello, former Manchester United striker, is on the line. Morning, Daniel.
Morning, guys.
Morning. A bit of resurgence at United. 3 away wins on the bounce. Marcus Rashford seems to have found a little bit of form as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've been fantastic the last 3 games. I mean, they rode the luck a little bit, with certain times during the periods during the game. But I think the important thing is not to get carried away as a United fan. I think we've seen this before, some good away results. But I think the time is key. That Ollie's given the time to get that team where he wants to be. And as you said, Marcus has been fantastic. And that free kick was just phenomenal. I know in our household, we all started jumping up like crazy, like we're actually there.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? I just remember thinking, even when I looked at it, the angle from behind, even after I knew it had gone in, I was like, it's going over. It's going over. It's gone in. There we go. Good stuff. So look, what's changed for you in recent weeks about this Manchester United side? Do you think there's anything that now does look better, or is it just the law of averages that they were always going to win a couple eventually?
I genuinely think it is a law of averages. I think they've played a few games, they've done well, but they've not won the games. They've played poorly and lost games. But I think Ollie's on it's a long-term plan. It's to build a team from what he's got now, and they're nowhere near the Liverpools, the Man Cities, the Spurs, the Arsenal even. So it's just it's a time management thing, and they will get there. It's just they're going to win a few games on the way as well.
Obviously, a tough one tomorrow. Bournemouth away. Bournemouth, who haven't actually scored in the last 3 games, but never an easy place to go. I mean, United have, obviously, they're on this good run now, albeit a couple of cup games in there. But how do you see this one playing out?
Well, United got a few players coming back. I think it's good to see Martial, back in the squad and back in the team. I think he'll play again tomorrow. I think he's probably the main man to play up front with Marcus coming off the left potentially and James on the right. I think United could sneak it. I think they're in a bit of form. The confidence is there, and as you said, Bournemouth haven't scored for a while, so I think United could sneak it. But like you said, it's not an easy place to go. But I'll probably go for a 2-1 win United.
Yeah, and Fred has been playing quite a bit in Pogba's absence. Do you think maybe some of the criticism of him has been slightly unfair, or do you still think he's quite limited?
I think he's a good player. I don't know what his main asset to the team can be. I think he's an all-rounder kind of thing. He can get up and down, he works hard, he's decent on the ball, he can hit the ball from a distance, he can keep the ball, but then he makes silly mistakes, he gives the ball away. So I'm not convinced he's worth the money we paid for him, and obviously Pogba I much prefer in there, but for me, he's doing a job, he's doing okay, but I think McTominay is the man in midfield. He's been phenomenal, organising, demanding of players, and playing, like he's 10 years older than he is.
Yeah, no, that's who I was going to come on to now, actually, about McTominay, because there's some quite iconic footage of Sir Alex Ferguson saying to Jose Mourinho last season, like, look, you should play him more, and I thought initially maybe that was just kind of like the Scottish Union that was getting involved there, saying it, but actually he's earned his stripes, hasn't he?
Oh, 100%. I mean, just looking on social media, all United fans and people who, with the blue tick, so to speak, who speak on United all the time. I mean, they've been massively proved wrong by McTominay. He's been phenomenal. Out of all the players that were there last season, McTominay's been by far the best player. I mean, obviously the newcomers have been fantastic, the new signings, but for me, of all the players that were here last year, he's been the main man. He's been brilliant.
And if we talk about Solskjaer being on this project and building a team with a slightly better culture, McTominay's grit and work rate, clearly you'd have thought embodies that. And there are a couple of those now dotted throughout the team, your Harry Maguire's this world. But Daniel James seems to have been a good asset. and I was just wondering whether or not Solskjaer deserves more credit for that, actually, because he identified that United needed pace and needed the ability to get in behind teams. And Daniel James, every time he gets near the box, he's either going to win a penalty or score. That's what it looks like. Is he actually been one of the standout players for you?
Oh, absolutely. Like I say, I think the three players that Ollie brought in have been phenomenal. They've all proven their worth and how important they are to this side, and they're great assets to the club already. But the price we paid for Daniel James, 15 million, is an absolute snip. And he's shown what he can do early on in his Manchester United career. He's scored goals, created goals, won penalties, and like you say, the pace. It's just phenomenal, isn't it? So, yeah, absolutely. All three players, but I suppose just for the price we paid for Daniel James, it's an absolute snip.
Have we seen enough improvement over the last few weeks to think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be given the kind of time that we're led to believe that he'll be given, certainly till the end of the season at least?
Well, I'm of the belief he needs at least 3 seasons, 4 or 5 transfer windows, because look at the squad he's been left with, and he's buying youth, he's buying young players, he's buying players that are going to be there for the long term, and he's got to be given that time. A few weeks ago when we spoke, I wasn't convinced that they would give him the time, although they should give him the time. But I think if he can keep putting decent runs together, then he should be given the time he deserves. Whether he'll be successful is another issue, but you've just got to give him the chance to be successful.
And Rashford and Martial seems like a good pairing. Seems like they play a little bit better when they both play together.
Absolutely. Well, them two and Daniel James, the pace of those three is phenomenal. And there's goals there as well, as we've seen. So I don't think Rashford's ever going to be, a 30 goal a season man or anything like that. But with the three of them together, they should get a good tally between them.
Indeed. And lastly, United, a lot of goals scored from dead balls, it seems like. Obviously, a lot of set plays. They're struggling a little bit from open play. Any reason for that, you think?
That's what they do. They lack a number 10. It's as simple as that. And no disrespect to Pereira or Lingard, these guys, because they work their socks off for the team and the club, but they haven't got the quality that you need at a club like Manchester United to play in that creative role. And I think when Pogba comes back as well, there'll be a bit more creativity. But for me, the key position when United go to the winter transfer window or even the summer transfer window is getting that number 10 sorted, because that's where you could see United really starting to be a threat.
Great stuff. Last but not least, prediction for the game tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll stick with 2-1 United.
Great stuff. Daniel, as always, appreciate you coming on.
No problem. Cheers, guys.
Great stuff. Daniel Naliella there, former Manchester United striker. We have another score in the rugby. It's another try for New Zealand. Converted try, Mr. Kieran Wellington.
Yes, and it's Ben Smith, the number 14, with the score. And what a score it was. He kind of wriggled through. Wales' defensive line looked pretty strong. New Zealand were building the phases. And Ben Smith, all of a sudden, gets it from the ruck. Dives past one, dives past the next one, breaks the line up, and kind of gets tackled 2 meters from the line, still has the presence of mind to lift the ball over his head backwards to ground the ball. A superb try. there from New Zealand, and the score, as you say, 21-10 now.
Indeed. It was actually, did very well, didn't he, to get the ball down. It was, it looked like he was in a really awkward position. I was a bit worried for him injury-wise at one point. You thought with everyone ploughing in, but did very, very well. So, you mentioned New Zealand 21, Wales 10. It's a really good game, this.
Yeah, you do feel, though, New Zealand will pull away at some stage. That Wales has done well in this first half to peg them back to within 4, but New Zealand do look like every time they get into Wales' 22, they're going to score. Of course, we're watching on the TV monitors here, and it does look like New Zealand are a threat every time they go forward.
Indeed.
It does. It's got a little bit of a last day at school feel about it, this game. Like, they are all serious, don't get me wrong, but it does seem to be just about outscoring each other as opposed to bothering too much defensively.
Yeah. Right, guys. We need an alternative to a third, fourth place playoff.
Okay.
It was gutting when England lost that semi-final against Croatia. What was the last game we wanted to see?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
We didn't want to see England Belgium again.
No, it sucks.
And so what do we do? Well, there needs to be something, right? Is it do we need the host to come back in and play one of the teams, or what?
What I was thinking was you can't go for something, so you can't do a fight because we're not fighters, so therefore that wouldn't be a fair representation.
We're lovers, not fighters.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a representation of it. You couldn't arm wrestle. Again, similar thing. You couldn't do. But what you could do is have a load of different tricky elements of the game. So who can do the most keepy-uppies with a rugby ball? Then you do the most kicks. Then you do a pace test. Then you do these various things. And collectively, you take the score, and then that's who wins. And crucially, we don't have to sit through yet another dead rubber.
Like a school sports day.
Exactly. But with rugby elements of it, or cricket elements of it, or football elements of it, depending on which sport that you're doing.
What do you think, Rich?
I'm in. Like you say, we need something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Just keep it entertaining. Something it needs to be fair. It needs to be fair, so something that both would be equally good or bad at. Doesn't really matter.
No, but that's what I'm saying about. So if you did it in football, for example, it'd be like, right, you pick two players who can do the most keep-ups, and you just let that run. And while they're doing that event, you could do another one who can score directly from a corner.
Okay.
Who's got the highest leap for a header, and then right at the end, who's the best at snaring a teammate's misses.
Right.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Who do we put forward in the England squad?
Well, if you've got John Terry on the coaching staff, then you could probably. You asked.
I did ask, and I wish I hadn't.
Yeah, I think just an alternative rugby game. So the scrum is actually contested by all the backs rather than all the forwards, and the kicks have to be done by the hooker, and the line-outs have to be done by the fullback. Or
and you get Sinclair on the wing.
Yeah, Sinclair on the wing. Yeah, they have to change their position. They're not allowed to play anywhere near their most comfortable position.
I like that a lot.
You could do that in football as well. Jordan Pickford up front.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, makes sense.
Who would go in goal, do you reckon? Who would be England's best goalkeeper who's an outfielder?
Harry Kane.
Well, he has gone in goal, hasn't he?
That's why.
For Spurs.
Yeah.
Is he good?
It's not bad. Yeah, I think Harry Kane will go in goal.
Okay.
I think, who else would I have in? Difficult, really. It's not quite as much fun in football because rugby, you've got such different body types. Is that a nice way?
Yeah, and that's part of the fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why I want Sinclair on the wing. I just want to watch that.
Yeah.
Oh, there he goes.
Oh,
still going.
He's been caught.
He's no.
He's been caught again.
That's it.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. They've all caught him.
Oh, no.
Oh no, bundle. Oh no. 16 minutes to 10.
Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice. Have you had enough of extortionate energy bills? A spokesman said could help you find the cheapest energy deals on the market. Don't take our word for it. There's hundreds of spokesman said customers who've saved big. Brian from Derbyshire saved £400 on his energy bills, and Tony from Northampton saved a massive £2,800 on his gas and electric. A spokesmansaid.com, the leading price comparison site where you can switch to the cheapest energy tariffs on the market in just minutes.
Spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
When your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics. Get advice from your local pharmacy or search NHS Choices.
There are many things a mother can pass on to her baby. Her smile, her eye colour, and her immunity to whooping cough. Whooping cough is a very dangerous illness for young babies, and at the moment it's spreading fast. A simple vaccination during your pregnancy can help to protect your baby in their first weeks. Please speak to your GP, nurse, or healthcare professional and pass on your immunity.
Oh, it's okay. Let's face it, when your kids are ill, you'd do anything to help them feel better. But remember, antibiotics aren't always needed. You might not realise it, but taking antibiotics when you don't need them puts you and your family at risk of a longer and more severe illness. Help keep your family well. Always take your doctor's advice on antibiotics. Search NHS antibiotics. All better. As a busy mum, you're juggling loads of things. And when your kids are ill, you just want to help them feel better. But you don't always need antibiotics to help them get better. For things like sore throats, coughs and colds, you can get advice from your local pharmacy. And you don't need an appointment. To find your nearest pharmacy, search NHS Choices.
This is Love Sport.
That's for breakfast. Me, Richard Lee, and the legend that is Patrick Christys. We are here until 10 a.m. We are now the closing part of the show. Just give you an update. New Zealand 21, Wales 10. It's an interesting game, this one.
Yeah, it is. It's certainly. Although what I must say is that so far this has shown me why neither of these two teams are in the final. There have been a lot of unforced errors. There's been a lot of mishandling, and all right, it is that third, fourth place playoff, which isn't great. But there have been a fair few mistakes that you wouldn't normally see, or literally haven't seen actually, from England or South Africa so far, barring of course South Africa's first game.
Indeed. Martin Bell's up after us, of course, so do stay tuned for that. Delighted to say, we're going to be speaking now to Ben Dinnery, injury analyst. Of course, we have a full list of Premier League fixtures tomorrow and Sunday. Oh, there's been another try in the rugby right before half-time. It's another one for New Zealand.
Another one for Ben Smith as well.
It is indeed. So 26-10, conversion to come. That's a bit of a blow just before half-time, yes. Isn't it just? We're going to be speaking to Ben Dinnery, who is on the line right now. Morning, Ben.
Yes, good morning, Rich. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning, good morning. Jack Grealish, first and foremost. Villa fans sweating over his fitness.
Looking pretty good. Good news was that it was an impact injury. He suffered a dead calf last weekend. And although he left the team coach saying it was probably the worst pain that he's ever experienced, and his leg was in a protective cast and crutches, Dean Smith came out midweek and he said, look, he's responding really well to treatment, and he's very optimistic that he will be included in the matchday squad this weekend.
Okay, and Arsenal, a few of their players picked up knocks in the Carabao Cup, Klasnic, Maitland-Niles and Willock. Any of them who are likely to feature or not feature? Potentially matchday squad. I wouldn't expect any of the trio to maybe be included in the starting 11 anyway. There was no reports from Unai Emery, immediately after that game at Anfield. Those three players were actually spotted leaving the stadium limping and through the mix zone. So there's a little bit of uncertainty as the severity of the injury there, but we have the likes of Kieran Tierney and Gwen Doozy who could come in, and also the performance of Mesut Ozil. That suggests that he will hopefully be pushing for a place in the 18 this weekend. So it's no great shakes if any of those actually miss out this weekend. Well, you mentioned Mesut Ozil. He did come off after 60 minutes midweek. Was that more tactical, we feel? Do you think he might be saving him for the weekend?
It was certainly planned. So it was always, always thought that he would play around about that hour mark. I mean, his last performance was in the Carabao Cup competitively, so it had been a good sort of 4 to 5 weeks since his last appearance in an Arsenal shirt. So, Unai Emery may have had one eye on this weekend. I'd be very surprised if Ozil was to start, but certainly included in the matchday squad. I think, that's a real possibility.
Indeed. Andy Carroll, what's the latest with Andy Carroll?
Good news, yep. Barring any setbacks, he has recovered from a slight groin problem. He's been working with the squad since Tuesday. So he will be in the matchday 18. Like I said, lining up against his former employers. Again, it's a player that I wouldn't certainly expect to be included from the start. I see him more as an impact player. Despite in Newcastle's lack of goals with Joe Linton, you could maybe put Dwight Gale slightly ahead of Andy Carroll in terms of his fitness at the moment. But if we're maybe a goal down, heading into the last maybe 15 or 20 minutes, then he's certainly a good option from the bench as a target man.
And Winston Reid has made his first appearance in the reserves after a long-term injury. When are we looking at him to be fully fit?
Oh, a very, very difficult one. I would expect a very slow, integrated, release into the first team squad. We're looking at probably 18, 19, maybe 20 months since his last competitive game for West Ham. And we've had a few false dawns here with Winston Reid. You know, he did appear in a couple of non-competitive games in pre-season, and it was hoped that he would kick on from there. What we'll expect, you know, he'll gradually increase his minutes for the under-23s, make sure that he comes through those games without any problems, without any inflammation, any, you know, slight niggles or irritations around the knee, you know, and then we'll take it from there. Like I say, there's absolutely no rush, and Manuel Pellegrini will manage the player accordingly. You know, if he was to play again, you know, this year, I would definitely see that as a big bonus for both West Ham and the player.
Indeed. And Victor Lindelof, what's the latest there?
Again, he was the one that Harry Maguire and Marcus Rashford and Lindelof, they all picked up sort of minor knocks in the Carabao Cup at Stamford Bridge midweek. It's one, again, it's difficult, you know, with such a quick turnaround in fixtures. We're hoping if it's just an impact injury, if it's just a kick, you know, then he stands a chance. You know, but if it's anything muscular, strain, soft tissue, then he will be struggling, and hopefully, you know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will give him every chance to prove his fitness ahead of this weekend.
And Virgil van Dijk suffered a dead leg. Will he be fit?
He certainly will. You know, him and Mo Salah both picked up little injuries last weekend, and they weren't included in the Carabao Cup. However, they were available, so their omission from the matchday squad was purely, you know, as a precaution, just to be rested. So they will be, you know, they will return to the 18.
Fantastic, Ben, as always. Appreciate you joining us.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot. Much appreciated, guys. Thanks. Bye.
Ben Dinnery there, injury analyst, giving us the latest for the weekend. Right, we are the closing stages, not only the show, but of the week as well. And what a week it has been, Mr. Christys.
Oh, it has indeed. And I think, look, we should just all take a moment now to appreciate the majesty of what this fine country is about to achieve. We've won the Cricket World Cup. We've got to almost at the very end of the Nations League, a semi-final of a World Cup, and now we're in a World Cup final in the rugby, led by an inspiring bunch of lads from a smorgasbord of different races, ethnicities, religions, cultures, parts of the UK, including world as well, actually. And I, for one, really think that we are about to...
I just pause you before this continues. I've got a feeling I know where this ends up.
Where?
We both know where this ends up,
What?
Patrick.
Sorry, what?
Well, we're nearly at the closing part of the show, and there's something that hasn't happened today, and I thought we were going to get through a show without it happening.
What's that, mate? Sorry.
Go on, continue what you're saying.
Well, no, I was just going to say that for, you know, we really, as a nation, tomorrow will be seeing young and old, relatives, both distant and close, linking arms and joining up in a mutual recognition of our national brilliance and heroism, frankly, something that has echoed and reverberated around the world for generations. We are about to be more united than we have ever been, and it is because of 15 heroes in white, about to take to the pitch and inspire us to World Cup glory.
Roll Britannia, Britannia rules the waves. Britain never, ever, ever shall be slaves.
You all right, Rich?
I mean, we could have just skipped all that and just sang the song.
Rich, if you can't beat them, join them, mate.
No,
Why are you looking at it?
That's not an argument
Of
for
course it
anything.
is.
That's not an argument for anything. If you can't beat them, join them. Really?
Well, yeah, but we are beating them, aren't we? Because we're England. That was the point of what I've just said.
That's the whole point,
We're
Rich.
beating everyone because we're the best.
Do you know, I genuinely thought we were finally going to make it through a show without Patrick singing that song.
Why did you think that?
I just thought we... Do you know what? I thought maybe...
It literally, if you read your
Read the
running
running
order,
order,
it
mate.
says Rugby World Cup, call to arms. What did you think was going to happen?
Call to arms, mate. Call to arms.
We literally...
I'm not allowed to bring...
I'll be honest, I actually spilled some water on my running order. As you can see, it's not in front of me because it's
Right.
on the floor in a crumpled mess because it's drenched.
How are you watching the final tomorrow?
I haven't decided yet.
How are you watching the final tomorrow?
I will be at home, just chilling.
How are you watching the final tomorrow?
Pub!
Right. Of course you
I
are.
see the sort of
course you
spectrum
are.
of the whole...
It'll be the end of a good night,
breakfast
won't
show.
it?
Oh, yeah, exactly. I'll get my... No, I'll start very responsibly. I'll start with a cappuccino and a fry-up for my
Nice.
heart's sake.
Avocado.
Yeah, a little bit of smashed avocado.
The most ridiculous adjective to describe any food, I think.
What, smashed avocado?
Smashed? Yeah, well, I don't want food smashed.
But it is smashed. What else would you describe it as?
Anyway,
Yeah, like
mush.
yeah.
Exactly. There you go. You got nothing. Nothing, Kieran.
But yeah, so then that. But this is what's great because I like going into pubs and people that you normally would never speak to. They normally look at me and they see like, you know, oh, you've got quite longish hair. You're a northerner. You know, you're not maybe our kind of guy. You look like the embodiment of middle-class gentrification. But in there, then, when England score that first try, I'm on Mad Gaz's back. I've got a pint in my hand. It's spilling everywhere. No one cares. Turn round, give the missus a kiss she doesn't really want. All this stuff. It's fantastic.
Do you know what? I love that comment. People you'd never normally speak to, you speak to. Well, if you never normally speak to them, then is it really a good thing that you're now speaking to them?
Yes, it is, you antisocial pillock. It is. It really is. Gosh, you're the problem, mate.
No, I've got a lovely select group of friends, and I'm full at the moment. I'm full. I haven't got room for any more.
No, but look, this is it. I think England has stood on the precipice now of, really being seen as probably the best sporting team. And I'd go as far as to say, they've got to be up there with the lot in 1966 because so a lot of the 2003 squad, the rugby squad, are coming out and saying that they think this team might be better. I think they probably are, and they've been faultless. They've been faultless, led by a bloke who's taken the world on and won.
Yeah, well, there you go. That is rousing. Before we do leave, I want to get a prediction from both of you because I've got a feeling I know which way you're going to sway and which team you're going to side with. But, Kieran, I'm going to ask you first because, to be honest, I value your opinion much more.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Physical battle.
Yeah.
I think Nick Easter made a very fair point earlier on in the show where if England get that early try, as we did against New Zealand, then South Africa will have to come out a little bit and kind of veer away from their defensive plan. So I'm expecting an early try from England, which will open up the game, hopefully. I'm expecting England to win about 25-18.
Oh,
Okay.
like it. I'm just going to go down the Michael Owen route here and say I think as long as we score more tries and convert more kicks than the South Africans do, we have got every chance of winning.
Okay. So you think we will win?
Yes.
Because you haven't really given... You do. By how many?
By 15 points.
Okay. I'm going to do what I did last time. I predicted that New Zealand would win, and I was really pleasantly surprised. So I'm not superstitious, but I am in this moment. So I'm going to say South Africa by 3, hoping that I'm wrong, praying that I'm wrong. But this is all part of the game plan. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Been a great week. Thank you very much. Martin Bell is up next. Thank you, Kieran. Thank you, Patrick. It's 3 minutes to 10.
Love sport.
Hi, my name's Kurt Edwards. I work in advertising